This is part two. I of an earlier part filmed on Thursday, March 29th. What's his name? Vachel Lindsay. He wrote The Proud Mysterious Cat, so I sung it to Mrs. Tabb's third grade class music there in Herndon Elementary in Herndon, Virginia. But it's sung differently, performed differently by boys' choirs, completely different than what we in the third grade learned in her class, or whatever grade it was, because I had her since probably second or third grade clear on to fifth grade. It's like, and I was in her musical, as was many other students. The musical was, I can't even remember it. Who Tamed the Wild West? It's like, it's a lot about Nevada and the settlers, and it's great music. And I got to sing one of the parts. And that's before I went into the sixth grade at Drainsville Elementary. And it's like, I was in all-county chorus. I was a descant. My voice, I was able to sing high notes. It's like, at least high enough, like, for a desk to be in the descants, which was the high section. It's like, maybe when you're younger, your voice is higher. It was all-county chorus. It was 1,000 students from all over Fairfax County, Virginia. It was called All-County Chorus, and we sung some great songs. It's like, when there are 5 different parts being sung, it's like you get a lot of harmony. It's like the descants, and then there's like 3 or 4 other parts. Don't ask me what they all are, because I couldn't tell you. And of course, I played the violin as a beginner in, I can't remember her name offhand, but it is in my yearbook, and she was the instructor. And then from 6th grade, I went into middle school at Herndon Intermediate, and Sherry Loudenslager was the orchestra teacher for the 7th and 8th grade. It's like, I learned a lot. And it's like, in 7th and 8th grade, I wasn't in chorus anymore, unfortunately. And then high school, no, not in chorus at all. But I was, for my freshman year of high school, in orchestra. Of course, when I moved to Boise, Idaho, there was no really good high school orchestra program, although there was a band, of course. Anywhere you go, there's band. And they had a chorus, of course, whatever groups they call them to, and so in Boise, Idaho, my experience with strings ended until I graduated, in which case I joined the community orchestra. It's like, and I was played for 2 concerts, but really I didn't play because violin, even second violin, with real orchestral music, takes a lot of hand-eye coordination. Have you ever tried to play the Nutcracker Suite? Okay, but apparently there's a lot of people in Meridian and Boise, Idaho, who can play that kind of music. And I've been to a lot of concerts, too, of all kinds of genres. There's a college in Idaho where the Langrios Trio is in the music department. They're a chamber music, 3-piece chamber music, a violinist from Europe, more from England or Scotland, I'm not sure exactly. It's like, but he has experience in music in Europe. And then there's a violist, and then there's a cello. And I've been to 2 or 3 of their concerts here at the Martin Hotel, a historic hotel that dates back to the turn of the century of the maybe the late 1800s, maybe very early 1900s, here in Winnemucca, Nevada. and I got to hear them play. And some of their music I put to, is it the Odyssey movie from 2000 or 1998? Who's that singer in Broadway? She was the witch who the hero meets, who turns everyone into animals. So their music is featured in some classical composers. I played the movie through twice. Some with the Langrios Trio, and they have some albums. They've released some albums, but I can only find individual songs on YouTube, not their albums. And some of them you can, and then some classical music composers in the Odyssey. So I repeat it through twice, and it's on my, what they would let me publish. It's on my YouTube channel under uploads. It's like, I've been to Pavarotti in Boise when he was alive. I missed the first hour, but I caught the second part. I've been to Michael Ballum concert. He's a Mormon, but he's a professor at the University of Utah, and he's the head of the Utah Opera Festival, or what is it? Yeah, and he has sung with the British singer Joan Sutherland. It's like, he knows like a lot of stories about the power of music, the power, the destructive and evil power that music can have, or the good power. And he does seminars like in Utah and in the Mormon Church, and his seminars I posted on my YouTube channel. Michael Ballum, Ballam, I think. He played the devil in the Mormon temple ceremony. It's a video you watch if you're a Mormon and you go to the temple. It's called the reenactment of the Garden of Eden, basically. And they do make many of these videos. In one of them, an older one, he plays the devil. But his insight into music, and he's a great performer, and I've been to one or two of his concerts, I think at least one. He sings show tunes, including Some Enchanted Evening, Phantom of the Opera. He's very good at what he does. And if you want to listen to what he has to say about music and his power to heal, it's like Joan Sutherland and him were locked. It's like, check out his seminars on YouTube. Joan Sutherland and him were put into lockdown by the police when Mick Jagger was performing at a concert venue. I don't know where this was. It's like he can. It's like at Mick Jagger's concerts, people get raped and injured and whatnot because of the dark power in rock music, especially. It's like Mick Jagger says, we're going after the minds of young people. It's like, well, big surprise there. It's like people on have gone on flights, international flights or airplanes, and they've gotten to talk with Mick Jagger, and they talk about what he says about it. And it's interesting because Michael Ballum talks a little bit about that. And AC/DC is another heavy metal rock music. People have died at their concerts. At least Michael Ballum tells the story of one man who died in Utah at the Salt Palace, because it's like, it wasn't crowd control that caused his death. It was the dark power that was inherently written into the music. It's like this honoring the devil, basically. And so I've been to Backstreet Boys. I've been to NSYNC. Of course, I've been to Sarah Brightman, who was the original Christine Daae in Phantom of the Opera. In Love Never Dies, of course, Christine Daae gets killed off by the Phantom accidentally. I hope I didn't spoil it for you. But Phantom of the Opera was written for Sarah Brightman primarily, in my opinion. That's when Andrew Lloyd Webber and her were married, and it was written as music that she could perform. It's like, and it really belongs to her, I think. Well, anyway, at least she stole the show of it. So I saw the Sarah Brightman concert, Harem, in Reno in the early 2000s. Hold on just a second. It's like, and the Great Basin College that's here in Winnemucca. It's like they invite a lot of artists to the Martin Hotel to perform, like folk music or other genres. One's an artist I missed. I don't need to think of the name because I put his music on my YouTube channel. So I apologize for not being able to attend him. I don't usually get to go there. But here's Sarah Brightman's Harem album. And of course, she became a U.S. citizen. And I don't think she's married. It's like, never had kids, but she's a great artist. A world-class performer. It's like, she is an artist in every way. She was in the original cast of Cats, believe it or not. It's like, my world would not be the same without her. And I don't think I would have discovered Cats also without her. It's like, maybe, it's like because of her Andrew Lloyd Webber collection. Maybe I would have found the video at the library about Cats that I found. It's like, maybe I would have found Cats back in 2022 when I started researching a lot on YouTube. But she has 3 Cat songs: Gus the Theater Cat, Memory, and McCavity the Mystery Cat on her Andrew Lloyd Webber collection, the album sung by Sarah Brightman. So that's when I first heard of Cats. I've never heard of it before. I didn't even know what those songs were about. Later I bought the Best of Andrew Lloyd Webber CD, and therein was a bunch of his songs from musicals. And one of them was Mr. Mistopheles, which is from, it's like, which is from Cats, and it says right on the album, from Cats. So it's like, if I were ever to put 2 and 2 together, I would have realized that Cats isn't just a collection of songs. It's an actual musical. It's like, can you believe that I never knew anything about it? You know, yeah, I got her album around the year 1999, but until I went to the library in 2010 or 12, it's like I didn't know about Cats. I watched the movie, thought nothing of it. It's like, but when I posted the music videos I made from Sarah Brightman's album, I got to go back and find out who those other cats were. So I bought the movie online, and of course this was in 2021. Of course, in 2019, Tom Hooper had done a Cats live action movie with Taylor Swift and a bunch of other stars. Some of those women saved the musical. It's like, saved that movie wherein it could have died. But there is a lot of good dancing in there, that's for sure. Of course, back in Boise, I did go to a Jeff Ogg concert. He is a real rock and acoustic guitar musician. I got his album, Jeff Ogg Into the Breeze. One of his singles is called Rocket. Jeff Ogg, Before the End. It looks like Nick Carter from the Backstreet Boys on the front cover to me. And I've been to the Mormon Tabernacle Choir performance. I've been to the Olympics in Utah. It's like, I have been in the LDS church. It's their new meeting hall where they do have an organ. It's like, the old meeting hall only seated a few hundred people. It's like their new meeting hall seats it's a venue place they can put anything on. They had some kind of a production when I went to the Olympics. It was called Light of the World or something like that. Anything they do is amazing. Anything connected to the Mormon Tabernacle Choir is amazing. And of course, they had their program Music and the Spoken Word, which I never got to see until around 2017, 2016. When the sign in Revelation of the Virgin in the constellation, the Virgin giving birth to the planet Jupiter, the dragon opened its mouth to swallow the planet Jupiter, with the moon at her feet and the sun at her head. This was in September 2000. 2017, and she was clothed in the stars. Of course, the stars were Leo, and the planets Mercury, Venus, and Mars, and all of that only happens once every 1,000 years or 2,000 years. Very rarely does it happen, but it happened. It's like that was a revelation sign being given in the heavens. It's like, and that's around the time I was listening to the Mormon Tabernacle Choir on YouTube, Music in the Spoken Word. But offhand, oh, and I've been to the Jonas Brothers concert with, who's the girl that sings Why Does Love Always Feel Like a Battlefield? Oh, and I have been to part of a concert with the Boise Philharmonic Orchestra. There they performed Dvorak Symphony No. 9, which is my favorite of his. It's like, other than that, I've never been able to go to. I might have heard at Boise State University a pianist recital. And I have been to a figure skating event back in 1997, I think, or 6, or one of the... there was a figure skating at the Broncos, not the Broncos Stadium, but it's the venue inside Boise State University. That's not the Ann Morrison Center. By the way, I saw Michael Ballum at the Ann Morrison Center, and I think I saw him at another high school. It's like, because when we were leaving the high school, it's like we went through the back exit, and there I saw Michael Ballum in the band room of the high school. It was so cool. I should have introduced myself, but and of course, I've seen Waylon Figsby 2 or 3 times at the Martin Hotel outside. During the summer, they come. He is a Cajun musician. What do they call it? Bluegrass. It's like I think he knows some bluegrass artists. In reality, I think they are an outstanding group, and he can play the fiddle really good, and he sings. And his musicians play the piano, guitar. And before him, there's always another artist, and I can't think of his name, but he's a country music, a traditional country music singer. Of course, I grew up listening to some artists like, who's the guy who sings Ghost Riders in the Sky, and out in the West Texas town of El Paso, I fell in love with a Mexican girl. So my dad, and songs like that. There really is classical country music. It's not Elvis Presley. It's not anything written of today. It's like, it's not even related to, who's the girl that sings, I go walking after midnight. It's like, there really is a classical country. Anyway, but you can check out Waylon Thibodix, spelled WaylonThibodeaux. Here We Go Again is his newer album. He has 10 songs on it. He has a bunch of other albums. He is on YouTube, and I'm sure all of these artists are on iTunes. It's like, please support them. It's like, I may bootleg stuff, but I always go back and I support the artist, or I buy the movie, or I buy the CD. It's like, whatever I use in my work, it's like, I always try to support anybody. It's like, even if they're working for the devil, I still try to pay them money. It's like, it seems like the right thing to do. It's like, because you know what? A lot of people in this world are working for the devil. So the Langress Trio, their album was Pensiro. It's like, they never miss a beat, they never squeak, they're great. So when so after I graduated from high school, there was the Meridian Community Orchestra. It didn't last long. It's like, but I did get to attend a year and a half, or year in a summer school, a year and also a summer school at Boise State University, where I got to take survey of Western art music, which the instructor was Jeannie Belfi, and without that instruction, I wouldn't have been able to make many of the music videos I did on my YouTube channel, Jared Routson, spelled Jared, Routson, Routson. There's 2 channels. My channel is the larger one with my face of 150 subscribers. not a lot of subscribers after 10 years being on there. And so one of those videos I put on my YouTube channel by Derek, it's like from the PlayStation 3 home video game. I made many sketches, and here's the music I used. The Better Life Band. Their picture is on my YouTube channel, or you can look them up. TheBetterLifeBand.com, JudahManagement@gmail.com, 2010 The Better Life Band, their song So Bent, You Walked Out, Starting Over, The Rush, Over Again, Stay With Me Tonight, Open Your Eyes, featuring Brad Arnold of The Street, It's Your Life, Starting Over, acoustic bonus track, Stay With Me Tonight, acoustic bonus track. So two of their songs they recorded with a guitar, an acoustic guitar, and they also recorded it with electrical guitar. Produced by Justin Upshaw, he's one of the guitarists, and Derek Ashby, he's the vocal, he's the singer. Engineered, mixed, and mastered by Bruce Kirby. One of the performers, like shortly after, it's like they came to the Winners Casino, which the Winners Casino, they like during the biker convention, it's like they sponsor, and the car show, which you have a lot in Reno and Winnemucca, it's like they have bands come. And I did go to an honest rock band outside. It only lasted, it was like a Burning Man thing. They burnt a motorcycle outside. They actually burnt it. It's like not the safest thing to do. It's like when there's so many people there in that little parking lot. It was like, but this was back in 2022. It's like in the summer, and then there was a storm. It's like a heavy storm. The wind got so heavy, it's like everything got shut down. But I was at a rock concert, and of course I grew up in the late 90s, like in my own apartment with MTV. So I know all the MTV artists. Some of them I like, some of them are just popular artists. But not all music is good for you, by the way. And the drummer of the Better Life Band, photography by Justin Grant, album artwork by Jeff, Arcade's band logo by Matt Manful, diversified logo is by Neil Finch. They're from Utah. Some of them were Mormons or are Mormons or had been. But Justin Upshaw, here it is. So, that's the singer, Derek Ashby. Their band had a history. One of the guitarists left. Was it bass guitar? I'm not sure. Neil Finch is the blonde. I know he's married and he was a Mormon or is a Mormon. Joel Upshaw and Matt Daly, I don't know who they are. Yancey Turner. Okay, so this guy is Neil Finch. This guy, he can play the acoustic guitar. He is Justin Upshaw, and of course the singer is Derek Ashby, and finally on the drums you have Yancey Turner. When the Better Life Band retired back in 2013 probably, Yancey Turner remained on drums in a different band. It's like, and they're an honest-to-goodness rock band. It's like they have another album that they made earlier, and I have it. Anyway, I forget the name of it. I can't leave the camera to go look for the album. Okay, so, that, it's like I took a piano class in high school at BSU, but, you know, one hand is the treble clef and another hand is a different key. It's like, I forget the name of the teacher, but we all had electric keyboards. Of course, since 2000 or since 1997, keyboards have come a long way. You have weighted keys, you have digital music. You can do anything with a digital keyboard. You can play any past music. You can program the tuning of 420 hertz, the Schumann resonance tuning, instead of the 440 hertz A, note A, which is the Nazi world tuning. It puts you in an altered consciousness. It's not healthy for you. Of course, Schumann discovered what that resonance was in the upper atmosphere of what lightning frequency lightning makes when it hits the atmosphere or whatever. It's like, so you can program any mode into a keyboard. Any ancient mode you can play. Any tuning of the instrument of the keyboard you can make. Some rock music uses A at 230 or 232 hertz. But for Schumann resonance tuning, the most helpful one, we're guessing, is 420 hertz. Try it out, see it if you like it. It's not going to turn into static in the mind of the listener or in reality like 440 does. When a singer tries to perform at 440, it's like their music is actually turning into static that your body doesn't understand and can't hear. It's not a natural frequency to hear anything at. Isn't that funny? It's like, and as a violinist, I know this. It's like, it hurts to play 440 perfectly tuned music. That's probably why rock musicians probably have tuned their music to 430 hertz. There is a YouTube video on the 420 tuning of the Schumann tuning. He was a real scientist. I don't think he was a musician. So I could only play the violin a little bit. I played it at someone's prom at the Winnemucca courthouse on the steps while they were eating dinner. It's like I had to play it for an hour. But from it, I was able to buy a piece of art with the piano in it, and it's on my Instagram page. A piece of art that has a piano on it. It has a name on that piano, and it's the same piano that Nick Jonas played. It's like a story behind the concert of Nick Jonas. It's like, I forget the name of the tour, although I have his album. I bought his music from there. It's like, all of his music is Line, Vines, and Trying Times is the name of the album. That was before him and his brother, Joe and him became solo artists. And before his older brother got married, which is when the earthquake happened in Haiti shortly after, which reminds me of Phantom of the Opera and Evita. And I think Evita reminds me of the death of Princess Diana more than anything. I stayed at the Marriott Hotel. It's the first time I've been to Sacramento, California to see in a concert. I can't remember the name of the venue in Sacramento, but it was the normal venue there in Sacramento. It's like, I grew up as an infant in California because my dad was in the military. However, I don't remember anything about it, but it's a nice place to visit, but you wouldn't want to live there. But Sacramento is a pretty cool city. I'm sure they have an orchestra there. It's like, I've never been to the Reno Philharmonic Orchestra, which is just 2.5 hours away from Winnemucca. But they have one, and she's a great conductor, and they advertise for it, and they have a Nutcracker ballet every December, and it's like, I really need to go. And when Cats came into town last year, it's like I was sick with Corona, and I couldn't go see the musical of Cats. It came, not to Winnemucca, but it came to Reno. Of course, I've seen them perform Aladdin at Walt Disneyland. And my parents went to, later on, after I had been to Pavarotti, about 5 years later, they went to another Pavarotti concert, but I wasn't invited, but it's okay. That's kind of a romantic thing to hear him, have heard him sing. some of the music of Joan Sutherland I put on my YouTube channel under uploads. I hope they let me publish it. Check out Joan Sutherland. She's a star. And there's another opera singer, Maria Callas, she died a long time ago, but she was she was a citizen of Italy, and she was quite a performer. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to say about music. It's like, I love Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cinderella, Bad Cinderella. I now love his music, which has been redone from the 1972 version of Jesus Christ Superstar. And of course, the Osmonds were great in, Donny Osmond was great in Joseph's Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. All of those things you can watch on YouTube or pay for them. Please pay for them if you can afford to. It's like, I liked Zac Efron in Hairspray. I never saw Grease. I did see South Pacific as a child when Blockbuster Video sold musicals like that. And Mary Poppins, of course, I'm sure I saw at a young age, which is a great musical. Anything by Disney is wonderful. It's like, Disney probably had no idea to the extent to which musicals would happen in his company. It's like, and of course I love Fantasia and Fantasia 2000. I saw Fantasia 2000 at the IMAX back in the year 2000. The collaboration of what is his name? Salvador Dali, the Spanish artist, with Walt Disney had been a secret until Roy Disney discovered his company, or somewhere along the line, discovered the storyboard to what Walt Disney and Salvador Dali were working on together. Something happened where finances ran out, or there was a war, and Salvador Dali had to return to America. But they took the storyboard, they animated it in 2000 and put it with Fantasia 2000. It was to a singer. I loved it, but other people didn't, so I put it to the music of Vivaldi and added a little bit of Salvador Dali's art at the end. So it's the first part of Vivaldi's Four Seasons. You can watch it on my YouTube channel under uploads. It has to do with baseball, and when I learned about it, it led to a bunch of other music videos that Fantasia would have wanted to make, but they never had the chance. But you can see the ones they wanted to make and never made. All of that music they were planning on using, you can find it on my YouTube channel under uploads, including Shwanda the Bagpiper, Ride of the Valkyries, Flight of the Bumblebee, Brahms Lullaby. Brahms Lullaby is included in my the Odyssey movie. What else did he want to do? But I did a basketball movie. These are to some of these are to video games. A basketball music video. The baseball music video with Shwanda the Bagpiper. A football music video with Beethoven's Piano Concerto. God of War Ragnarok for PlayStation 3 was for Ride of the Valkyrie. I can't remember what else they were maybe wanted to do with Fantasia, but that's about all. Of course, I did Hansel and Gretel. Some of it they let me use. Some of it they wouldn't publish. Hansel and Gretel to some of the Huntsman movies. 2 of the Huntsman movies, and the story with Michelle Pfeiffer as the witch and the star that came to Earth. And so Charlotte Church was a performer in the 90s. She sings the Hansel and Gretel. I like Josh Groban. You can watch these performers on TV. Celine Dion was a big singer in the 90s when she sang to the Titanic. So the director of the Titanic went on to make Terminator, and had already made Terminator. He regrets it. And it's like, and he went on to do the Avatar movies, I think. It's like, I know a lot about ethnic music, historical, music before any classical music. It's like, I know a little bit about it, not a lot, but it's like, in ancient music, they didn't use the pentatonic scale. It's like, they used other scales, but all of those things can be replicated on a modern synthesizer. Of course, now synthesizers aren't, they sample piano notes, and they should sample each note. And you can have a grand piano replicated on a synthesizer, because now we have memory, processing power, and so you can play a note and it will sound exactly the same as it would on a grand piano if they sampled each key properly, which they should. And if they sample the length of... they can sample the note based on how you hit the keyboard, the key itself, how hard or soft they can sample it that way. They can... you can hold the note and it will play the note as it would play on a grand piano if you sustained it. It's like you can play dozens of notes at the same time and their sound will all sustain. And the harmonics of the notes of a grand piano, it should sound the same much the same on a synthesizer. Plus you have the feel of a weighted key, and it actually throws a hammer, like when you hit the key. It's like, so the sky's the limit. They can sample any instrument and put it actual notes of the instrument, or a chorus, or anything, a harpsichord, or any ethnic instrument, a xylophone. Now it's like, this was back in 1996 when this existed. It's like, but now 26 years later, you should be able to get make any sound you need to on a keyboard, and make it authentic. It's like, well, in hip-hop music anyway, it's like they take advantage of it. And you can alter the sound of the grand piano or the piano. It's like you can make it sharper, clearer. You can make it exaggerated. It's like whatever you need to do with that sound, you can do it. You can record your music. You can have notes. You can have flashes of light on your keyboard, so you can play along with the flashes of light if you need to. It's like, what else can you do? You can record your music. You can record your scores. It's like, so you can record your music as you play it, and it'll be transcribed for you. I suppose you could write the music the way you want it and have the keyboard play it for you. With the dynamics and any arrangements or chords or harmonies, it's like, nowadays, any student of music can do it. It's like you don't have to have it's like a recording session. And who's the British singer that won a Grammy? And like, they can start from scratch and compose an entire song just on their own, like from their instruments. It's like they know how to do it right in front of your eyes. It's like, I wanted to read this book real quick. It's something I had in my library. I got it from the thrift store when I was working at the thrift store as a job coach. It was called Sonoma Industries, which is still in business, but it's under new management, and it works with the disabled in the community. A lot of things I got that are important to me from that thrift store, like my Survey of Western Art Music textbook and CDs, I got it from Sonoma Industries thrift store. My Yale Shakespeare complete set, I got it at the Sonoma Industries thrift store. This book, Cats, an anthology of verse and prose, I got it at Sonoma Industries thrift store. It's like, I got a lot of old books, like Dante's Inferno, which T.S. Eliot said made a big impact on him when he read Dante's Inferno. Dante being like an Italian author from the 1400s or the Renaissance or whatnot. He has his Dante's Inferno, Dante's Purgatory. Dante's Purgatory is a Catholic concept, and Dante's Heaven. And I took a course in that from Professor Sherry McGuire at Boise State University. So I put all of the Western literature that I could think of, although I didn't do all of it, but I did do the Greek philosophers. The Greek myth literature is on my YouTube channel, and it happens to be on my Jared Routson's Cats playlist and my other 2 Cats playlists. By the way, I have, for those who care, I have a Twitter account. It's Jared Routson at Jared Routson, which is one word lowercase, spelled JaredRoutson. One word lowercase, no space. My Pinterest is Jared Routson, which I just my name, as it's capital J, capital R, lowercase, everything else. It says, see Black Jesus Art. Facebook, I'm Jared Routson. Just add me and I will add you. My Instagram, Jared Routson. That is all one word and lowercase. Scroll for longevity trivia, holistic and naturopathic materials, and for the Cats 1981. Really useful group LTD full-length musical takes from my original cast lineup. So all except for one that they let me put on of my original Cats films, that they did one let me put on YouTube. They did let me publish it in full on my Instagram page. And then, of course, YouTube. Search Jared Routson for the larger of 2 channels, or Google http://www.youtube.com/user/1607 link. That's 1607, capital L, lowercase INK. Link is a Nintendo character, of course, and 1607 is when America was first colonized. Although that turned into a disaster and they had to recolonize it. Those colonists disappeared when that explorer sailed away from them, and they don't know what happened to them, although there was a word, Croatan or something, posted in a tree. This is documented in American literature in a certain paper. So those white people might have gone and joined the Native Americans because there was no trace of them. And my professor of American literature, her name is Louise Ackley. And I owe so much to her because not only am I now kind of versed in healing and herbs and whatnot, but before I ever got into it, I was researching herbal literature. Anything about the history of herbs in world history, I know a lot about. There are Greek philosophers who published herbals, who wrote about herbs and healing. Dioscorides, I think, was one. Wasn't Hippocrates, like the father of medicine, but it's like, then from the Egyptians and Greeks, it's like you had European herbalists. One of them is Culpeper, which J.K. Rowling uses a lot of. There's beautiful art in these books, beautiful art and prints of herbs, and it's a real thing. Herbals throughout history are real. Culpeper. Here's the Culpeper herbal and English physician, and these herbals is like, even though we have new herbs today, and there aren't a lot of herbs in America, but Native Americans have their own herbs, of course. There are a lot of herbals about Native American herbals. There's a new book on my Instagram page. She does an herbal about things that you could survive with in America of herbs. There's also another book about surviving disasters. He's interesting. I don't own either one of those. But Culpeper was also an astrologer, I believe. So no wonder J.K. Rowling uses inspiration from Culpeper. Of course, I suppose before Culpeper, you had Nostradamus. I don't know that he was so much of an herbalist, but here's the book, The Elixirs of Nostradamus. Original recipes for elixirs, scented water, beauty potions. And by the way, that was Graeme Tobin, Culpeper's medicine. An incomparable guide to the theory and practice of Western holistic medicine. His name, Graeme Tobin, GraemeTobyn. Oh yeah, there are prints in here. So Nostradamus probably made a herbal, or it's like he's referring to these herbs. He cured the plague with vitamin C, If you use vitamin C rose hips, you can cure leprosy with absolute oil of Bulgarian rose. You can get those oils at doTERRA. But I'm sure he used Bulgarian rose. I don't know what else he might have used for the plague. You can cure the flesh-eating bacteria MRSA with rose oil from doTERRA. The ladies that work there can tell you a lot. If it's like they do in my town. Of course, then you have Shaker herbal stores in America. The Shakers are a religious group, and they grew a lot of medicinal plants. A lot of explorers who came to America, whether it was in the New World or in South America, it's like they ran into tribes who shared with them, even Lewis and Clark, those Native Americans shared with them herbal healing secrets. There might have been a couple, herbalist books from that time. There are a lot of herbals there's one lady, I forget her name, but she wrote, let me grab it. Mrs. M. Grieve. It's a 2-book compilation. She's a more modern, I don't know if she's an American. You can learn about these plants. I added some herbal videos, like how to heal with herbs, how to make tinctures and whatnot. You have flower essences, Bach flower essences, like the Rescue Remedy. They're extracted from flowers, and there are essential oils from flowers too, from doTERRA. The Bach Rescue Remedy has a little alcohol in it, but it isn't homeopathic, but it is like healing in nature. So there are books about the flower essences. I think it originated in England, I'm not sure. And then you have more modern herbal books, but none of the ancient herbals that were ever written. There's the herbal. Let me read it. The Herbal or General History of Plants by Gerard. The Herbal or General History of Plants by Gerard. It's not massive, but it's pretty big. It's about the same size as the Yale Shakespeare. And you can see all the prints of the plants, the carvings they made to represent the plants. Hildegard of Bingen, of course, a German nun of a monastery. She was a Catholic nun. She wrote many things about theology. She also made some herbal. She wrote things about health and healing. She was way ahead of her time. It's like what they knew in Germany back then was amazing. That's from the Renaissance era. Her music and whatnot is on YouTube, and it's on my channels too. On my playlist, rather. So at Boise State University is where I was able to accumulate a great wealth of information on herbal literature. There's even a great herbal I found at Hastings, not Hastings or Borders, but not Barnes & Noble, not Borders, but Hastings. It's the herb garden of Brother... It's called Brother Gadfel's Herb Garden. It's like, books should be written to be beautiful in picture, and it's like, I even found a book about the story of the colonists of Roanoke. It's like, who went missing. It's like, there was a book I found at Borders. It was either Borders or Barnes & Noble. It was the actual like illustrations of Indian illustrations of that time, or the illustration of the Indians and of the Roanoke colony, and it was all there in that volume. Of course, those books aren't cheap, and someone else bought it. It disappeared off the shelf. I wish I had gotten my hands on it. I'll probably never find it again, and I don't know what the name of it is. But books should be beautiful, and the books that I discovered about herbs are beautiful. And there's histories of medicine and histories of herb gardens, and even the colonists used them, of course. In the Queen's Court of Queen Elizabeth, there was an herb they put in their bed chambers. It's like, I forget the name of it, but it is a healing herb. And so I've collected books about health and healing through the ages, and I got to do that at Boise State University. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to keep a lot of that stuff when you interlibrary loan things. There were some herbal books I photocopied that you can, are special collections that you can only keep inside of a library. Unfortunately, the photocopies, I had about 3 or 4 pretty big stacks of those photocopies from those books, and unfortunately, they disappeared. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But the books that I bought from the store, of course, they survived. I had my business card printed. So under my username, about 1607 link, if you don't want to type in my name, you can type in that address, and it will bypass the small YouTube channel, which only has PlayStation 3 home sketches that I made. It's an online avatar creating community. But it says on here, see Jellicle Cats in Hollywood with Thomas Stearns Eliot, and Andrew Lloyd Webber playlist for 30 historical cats music videos I created. See Urgent End Time Bible events that we are now in playlist. Watch my uploads playlist for over 200 pop and classical music videos which I have made. Many of mine are from the PlayStation 3 home. Watch Cats Infest Anaheim playlist for my own 11 hours worth uninterrupted. And of course, what isn't on my business card, and I have the Cats logo, and I have my American flag on the back. I had them made so that I could distribute them locally. What isn't on my card is Jared Routson's Cats playlist, the director's cut. It's like, so I edited all my work with Cats down to 2.5 hours, or you can watch it for 3 hours, you can watch it for 4 hours, you can even watch it for 8 hours. Of course, there's a bunch of stuff missing, like an hour's worth missing, that they wouldn't let me include on YouTube, but it is on Instagram. However, they did let me put either a 15-second clip of it, or a 30-second clip, or a 1-minute clip of them, and those remained on my YouTube channel. All except for Thundercats Mum-Ra, as the Great Rumpus Cat music. I wasn't allowed to use it at all on any of them. But so what? It's like I found replacements. There's more than one way to skin a cat. You can learn more about Culpeper and other herbalists on YouTube. I haven't put a lot on Culpeper on my playlist, but there is one video about Culpeper and some on ancient medicine, so check into it. Of course, now we're learning they used antibiotics in the time of Egypt. Antibiotics have been discovered in traces of skeletons, and they did a lot of stuff. They performed surgery back then, even brain surgery maybe. I'd have to look into it. It's like, I learned on my, posted on my Instagram page the links to where you can learn about, and on my YouTube channel, the video where it talks about how the Greek philosophers, all of those smart Greek people, they went to some school in Africa or from black people, and there's even a civilization of black people which was hijacked by the Greeks. And it's like, and the blacks became extinct, and all of their knowledge became property of the Greeks. It's like, and so the Greeks took all of their knowledge from this school in Africa. We're talking about philosophy, math, I don't know what, I'm not a scholar, so I'm not exactly sure what all. So in this movie, this book, Cats. This charming book shows cats in all their diversity, from winsome, playful kittens to sleek hunters and dozing tomcats. As the pictures portray the beauty, charm, and mystery of this animal, so the text reflects our love and respect for them, with stories, poems, and letters written by cat lovers throughout the centuries. Worshipped and revered by ancient civilizations, feared by the superstitious, friend and companion to millions, the cat has held a special place in human society for thousands of years. Now the world's most popular domestic animal, the cat has never wholly become a pet and still retains its aura of mystery and its insistent independence. Beautifully designed and filled with irresistible photographs, this book is sure to enthrall cat devotees everywhere. Other titles in this series include Teddy Bears, a delightful book full of pictures of bears which reflects the special place these little animals have in our lives. Angels, a celebration of those celestial beings whose radiance, majesty, kindliness have inspired artists and writers over the centuries. If you watch my YouTube channel and uploads, you'll see modern illustrations of angels. It's like there are many different kinds of angels looking a lot of different ways. It's like not all of them look even human, remotely human. It's like whether they look like multiple wheels, like in concentric circles with multiple eyes on them. It's like, or they're the higher angels. It's like I made a music video representing what they might look like from all of my material being from other artists on YouTube. Motherhood, a collection of beautiful pictures and words defining and paying tribute to the special role of a mother. Jacket printed in Singapore. So it's just a book I found at the thrift store. Cats, an anthology of verse and prose. SMITHMARK is the publisher, I think. Let's see what it says. Anness Publishing Limited, 1995. All rights reserved. No part of this publication may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any way or by any means, electronic, mechanical, photocopying, recording, or otherwise, without the prior permission of the copyright holder. This edition, published in 1994 by SMITHMARK Publishers Incorporated, 16th East 32nd Street, New York, New York, 116. SMITHMARK books are available for bulk purchase, for sales, promotion, and for premium use. For details, write or call the manager of special sales, SMITHMARK Publishers Incorporated, 16th East 32nd Street, New York, 116. Their number is 212-532-6600. ISBN 08317-38278. Produced by Anness Publishing Limited, 1 Boundary Row, London, SE1 8HP. Printed and bound in Singapore by Star Standard. Contents: Chapter 1, The Historical Cat. Chapter 2, The Legendary Cat. Chapter 3, The Companionable Cat. Chapter 4, The Everlasting Cat. Acknowledgements. Before I get into it, The Historical Cat. It is called in Hebrew Katul, in Chaldean Chatul, plural Chatulin, in Greek Catus, in Latin Catus or Felis, in English the cat. From William Salmon, the English physician, 1693. When Noah took in the ark a pair of each of the animals, a male and a female, his followers said to him, "How are we and our cattle to live in peace and security while the lion is with us?" God therefore caused the lion to be seized and overpowered with fever. And that was the first occasion on which fever visited the earth. And that is why the lion is always in a state of fever. They next complained of the rat, which, they said, would spoil their eatables, drinkables, and goods. God therefore caused the lion to sneeze, when there came forth from it the cat. From Hayat al-Hayawin, a zoological lexicon by Ad Generis. What happens when a house catches fire is quite extraordinary. Nobody makes any effort to put it out because only the cats are important. Everybody stands in a line trying to save the cats, but they slip past just the same and throw themselves into the flames. This distresses the Egyptians a great deal. All the people living in a house where a cat has died a natural death shave their eyebrows. Cats which have died are taken to Bubastis, where they are embalmed and buried in secret receptacles. Herodotus, Greek historian of the 5th century BC, describing the customs of the ancient Egyptians in the Histories, Book 1. The worth of a kitten, from the night it is kittened until it shall open its eyes, is a legal penny. And from that time until it shall kill mice, 2 legal pence. And after it shall kill mice, 4 legal pence, and so it always remains. From the North Wales Code of Law of Prince Howell the Good, enacted in AD 936. Probably the first Englishwoman to be hanged for witchcraft was Anness Waterhouse. In 1566, she confessed to having sent her cat, who she called Satan, to spoil butter, kill a neighbor's livestock, and bewitch a man to death. In return for each of these deeds, the cat is said to have received 1 drop of Agni's blood. For 25 years, an oral addition to standing orders of the native guard at Government House near Pune had been communicated regularly from one guard to another on relief, to the effect that any cat passing out of the front door was to be regarded as His Excellency the Governor, and to be saluted accordingly. The meaning of this was that Sir Robert Grant, Governor of Bombay, died there in 1838, and on the day of his death, a cat was seen to leave the house by the front door and walk up and down a particular path, as it had been the governor's habit to do after sunset. A Hindu sentry had observed this and mentioned it to others of his faith, who made it a subject of superstitious conjecture. The result being that one of the priestly caste explained the mystery of the dogma of the transmigration of the soul from one body to another. They interpreted the circumstance to mean that the spirit of the deceased governor had entered into one of the house pets. It was difficult to fix on a particular one, and it was therefore decided that every cat passing out from the main entrance after dark was to be treated with due respect and proper honors. From Sir T. E. Gordon, A Varied Life, 1907. Chapter 2, The Legendary Cat. According to legend, a cat has 9 lives. For 3 he plays, for 3 he strays, and for the last 3 he stays. I'm going to read that one more time. The Legendary Cat. According to legend, a cat has 9 lives. For 3 he plays, for 3 he strays, and for the last 3 he stays. It's like, I apologize about my voice. I have corona. I'm not doing so good with it. I'm going to talk a little bit about that at the end of this book. But it's affecting my voice. And maybe some other things are affecting my voice too. Hear and attend and listen. For this, I am 46 years old. So it's like your voice changes over time, especially when you've been on psychiatric medication. Or if you have mold growing in your house, which I don't see how any house could not have some kind of mold problem in general. Here we go back to the book. Hear and attend and listen. For this befell and happened and became and was, O my best beloved, O my best beloved, when the tame animals were wild, the dog was wild, and the horse was wild, and the cow was wild, and the sheep was wild, and the pig was wild as wild could be. And they walked in the wet, wild woods by their wild lones. But the wildest of all the wild animals was the cat. He walked by himself, and all places were alike to him. From Rudyard Kipling, 1865 to 1936, Just So Stories. According to legend, Siamese cats have crossed eyes because they spent too long staring at the golden goblet of the Buddha. The Turks believe, by I know not what tradition, that Mohammed loved his cat so well that, one day being consulted on some point of religion, he preferred to cut off the cuff of his sleeve on which that animal was sleeping, than to wake it by rising to go and speak to the person awaiting him. From the 17th century French traveler Tournefort's account of his journeys in the Near East. And there's beautiful pictures of cats in this book. Just your common house cat. Nothing fancy, none of the new breeds that everyone's like gaga about, like the Sphinx cat, or I'm sure there's many other breeds that Greek legend says that Galinthia, princess of the city of Argos, was changed by the fates into a cat, and that in that shape she served as high priestess to Hecate, the goddess of magic. Freya is the most renowned of the goddesses. When she goes on a journey, she sits in a chariot drawn by two cats. From Snorri Sturluson, Snorri, Sturlson, 1179 to 1241, Icelandic poet, the Prose Edda. March 11th, Friday, 1791. The styony of my right eyelid still swelled and inflamed very much, as it is commonly said that the eyelid being rubbed by the tail of a black cat would do it much good if not entirely cured it. And having a black cat, a little before dinner I made a trail of it, and very soon after dinner I found my eyelid much abated of the swelling and almost free from pain. From the diary of the Reverend James Woodford, 1740 to 1803. Praise be to thee, O Ra, exalted Sekhem. Thou art the great cat, the avenger of the gods and the judge of words, and the president of the sovereign chiefs and the governor of the holy circle. Thou art indeed the bodies of the great cat, from the 75 praises of Ra, inscribed on the walls of royal tombs of XIX and XX dynasties of Thebes in Egypt. At Aix in Provence on the festival of Corpus Christi, the finest tomcat in the country, wrapped like a child in swaddling clothes, was publicly exhibited in a magnificent shrine. Every knee was bent, every hand strewed flowers or poured incense, and in short the cat on this occasion was treated like the god of the day. From C. Mill's History of the Crusades, 1820. Chapter 3. The Companionable Cat. I have a kitten, my dear, the drollest of all creatures that ever wore a cat skin. Her gambols are not to be described and would be incredible if they could. In point of size, she is likely to be a kitten always, being extremely small for her age, but time, I suppose, that spoils everything, will make her also a cat. From a letter to Lady Hesketh, written by William Cooper, 1731 to 1800. When the tea is brought at 5 o'clock, and all the neat curtains are drawn with care, the little black cat with bright green eyes is suddenly purring there. At first she pretends, having nothing to do, she has come in merely to blink by the grate. But though tea may be late or the milk may be sour, she is never late. From Harold Munro, 1879 to 1932, Milk for the Cat. It is very inconvenient. It is a very inconvenient habit of kittens. Alice had once made the remark that whatever you say to them, they always purr. If they would only purr for yes and mew for no, or any rule of that sort, she had said, so that one could keep up a conversation. But how can you talk with a person if they always say the same thing? From Lewis Carroll, 1832 to 1898, Through the Looking Glass. For I will consider my cat Geoffrey, for he is a servant of the living God, duly and daily serving him. For at the first glance of the glory of God in the east, he worships in his way. For this is done by wreathing body 7 times, round with elegant quickness. For then he leaps up to catch the musk, which is the blessing of God upon his prayer. For he rolls upon prank to work it in. For having done duty and receiving blessing, he begins to consider himself. For this he performs in 10 degrees. For first he looks upon his force paws to see if they are clean. For secondly, he kicks up behind to clear away there. For thirdly, he works in upon stretch with 4th paws extended. For fourthly, he sharpens his paws by wood. For fifthly, he washes himself. For sixthly, he rolls upon wash. For seventhly, he flees himself, that he may not be interrupted upon the beat. For eighthly, he rubs himself up against a post. For ninthly, he looks up for his instructions. For 10thly, he goes in quest of food. From Christopher Smart, 1722 to 1771. Jubilate Agno. Check this one. Ooh. All your wondrous wealth of hair, dark and fair, silk and shaggy, soft and bright, as the clouds and beams of night, pay my reverent hand's caress, back with friendlier gentleness. From Algernon Swinburne, 1837 to 1909, to a cat. I shall never forget the indulgence with which Dr. Johnson treated Hodge his cat, for whom he himself used to go out and buy oysters, lest the servants, having that trouble, should take a dislike to the poor creature. From Boswell's Life of Johnson, 1780. Who's that ringing at my doorbell? A little pussycat that isn't very well. But it's little... start from the beginning. Who's that ringing at my doorbell? A little pussycat that isn't very well. Rub its little nose with a little mutton fat. That's the best cure for a little pussycat. D.R.C. Wentworth Thompson, 1829 to 1902. A cat came fiddling out of a barn, with a pair of bagpipes under her arm. She could sing nothing but fiddle-cum-fee. The mouse has married the bumblebee. Pipe, cat, dance, mouse. We'll have a wedding at our good house. Anonymous nursery rhyme. Edward Lear, the 19th century writer of humorous verse, was so fond of his tabby cat Foss that when he moved house in San Remo, Italy, he had his second villa built as an exact replica of the first, purely to make sure that Foss feels at home. I can't say the language of this poem, but it's translated, "When I am playing with my cat, who knows whether she isn't amusing herself with me more than I am with her?" From Michael de Montaigne, 1533-92, Essays, Book 2. I and Pangar ban my cat. 'Tis a light task we are at. Hunting mice is his delight. Hunting words I sit all night. Oftentimes a mouse will stray in the hero Pangar's way. Oftentimes my keen thought set takes a meaning in his net. From Pangar banned by an unknown Irish monk and scribe of the 8th century. Chapter 4, The Everlasting Cat. I am the cat of cats. I am the everlasting cat. Cunning and old and sleek as jam. The everlasting cat. I hunt the vermin in the night. The everlasting cat. For I see best without the light. The everlasting cat. William Brightly Rands, 1823-1882. The Cat of Cats. The cat of the house. Over the hearth with my minishing eyes I muse, until after the last coal dies, every tunnel of the mouse, every chattel of the cricket, I have smelt, I have felt, the secret shifting of the mouldered rafter, and heard every bird in the thicket I see, you, nightingale up in your tree, I, born of a race of strange things, of deserts, great temples, great kings, in the hot sand where the nightingale never sings. Ford, 1873-1939. I can say with sincerity that I like cats. A cat is an animal which has more human feelings than almost any other. A letter by Emily Bronte, 1818-1848. Slippers, the White House cat, at the time of President Theodore Roosevelt, had the habit of going away, sometimes for weeks on end. But no matter how long he was absent, he always returned in time for an important state dinner. Any person who wanted to know when such an occasion was about to take place had no need to consult the newspapers. If Slippers was sunning himself on the front steps, that was a sure sign that the tables were being laid. Cats are a mysterious kind of folk. There is more passing in their minds than we are aware of. Sir Walter Scott, 1771-1832. Of all God's creatures, there is only one that cannot be made the slave of the lash. That one is the cat. If man could be... I'll start from the beginning. Of all God's creatures, there is only one that cannot be made the slave of the lash. That one is the cat. If man could be crossed with a cat, it would improve man, but it would deteriorate the cat. Mark Twain, 1835-1910. The cat. Within the porch across the way, I see two naked eyes this night. Two eyes that neither shut nor blink, searching my face with a green light. But cats to me are strange, so strange. I cannot sleep if one is near. And though I'm sure I see those eyes, I'm not sure a body's there. W.H. Davies, 1871-1940. Look at those eyes. Cruel but composed and bland, dumb, inscrutable and grand, so Tiberius might have sat, had Tiberius been a cat. From Matthew Arnold, 1822-1888, poor Mathias. Mathias. Cats, when terrified, stand at full height and arch their backs in a well-known and ridiculous fashion. They spit, hiss, or growl. The hair over the whole body, and especially on the tail, becomes erect. From Charles Darwin, 1809 to 1882. The expression of the emotions in man and animals. O bard-like spirit, beautiful and swift, sweet lover of the pale night, and dazzling glory of the gold-tinged tail, thy whisker-wavering lips. Percy Bysshe Shelley, 1792 to 1822. It is a neat and clean creature, oftentimes licking his own body to keep it smooth and fair, having naturally a flexible back for this purpose, and washing here face with here 4 feet. Edward Topshell, History of Four-Footed Beasties, 17th century. See the kitten on the wall, sporting with the leaves that fall, withered leaves, 1, 2, and 3, from the lonely elder tree. But the kitten, how she starts, crouches, stretches, paws, and darts, what intenseness of desire in her upward eye of fire. From William Wordsworth, 1770 to 1850, The Kitten of the Falling Leaves. Let's take a cat a fostry him well with milk and tender flesh, and make his couch of silk, and lay him seen a moose go by the while. Anon he weaveth milk and flesh and owl. Is it ale and ale or and owl? And every dente that is in the house, switch appetit hath he to ete a mouse. Fostry means to flourish or feed. Waveth means casts aside, forsakes. Denti, delicacy. Oh, it's dente. Denti, delicacy. From Geoffrey's Chaucer, 1343 to 1400. The Mounciple's Tale. The cat is domestic only as far as suits its own ends. It will not be kennelled or harnessed, nor suffer any dictations as to its goings out or comings in. Long contact with the human race has developed it in the art of diplomacy, and no Roman cardinal of medieval days knew better how to integrate himself with his surroundings than a cat with a saucer of cream on its mental horizon. From Saki, Saki, 1870 to 1916, The Square Egg. Acknowledgements. The publisher would like to thank the following photographic libraries for their kind permission to reproduce their photographs. Animal Photography, Sally Thompson. Barnaby's Picture Library, Bruce Coleman, Jane Burton. Bruce Coleman, Jane Burton, and Kim Taylor. Bruce Coleman, Raymond Cram, GDT. Bruce Coleman, Eric Crichton. Bruce Coleman, Harold Lane. Bruce Coleman, Werner Layer. Bruce Coleman, Fritz Prenzel. Bruce Coleman, Mr. Andy Prince. Bruce Coleman, Hans Reinhard. Bruce Coleman, Waltz. That's U-W-E space W-A-L-Z. Sylvia Corday. That's C-O-R-D-A-I-Y. Paul Kay, spelled K-A-Y-E. Sylvia Corday. Monica Smith. Solitaire Photographic, Spectrum Color Library 12. Edward Lear's drawing of his first adored cat, Foss. Who is Edward Lear? Is that a king of England? I'm not sure. Okay, nice book. for $5.99, it's a deal. Before I close out this video, in a separate video, I intend on reading the 5 or 6 unpublished poems by T.S. Eliot that are vital to this franchise. In the first video, I listed what they were. I also listed that they're both posted on my Instagram. The one that wasn't in the list of the big list of them that was separate is in another post on Instagram, which is about 10-15 squares from it. Poems by it's all information about T.S. Eliot anyway, so you'll find all 5 or 6 of those poems. Just a few notes to the last video. Oh. Cats was the groundbreaking show for all of us. The success of it gave us all the freedom to go on and do other shows. That's written by Mackintosh, one of Andrew Lloyd Webber's entourage. Cat, the play, all in capital letters. The play is hyphenated with 3 exclamations in it. Or it's in parentheses. So it's cat, hyphenation, line, is that a hyphen? And then parentheses, the play, with 3, and in the parentheses is 3 exclamations. So Cats the play, written by James Beamish and Richard Hardwick. Dane Dunn, starring Gerald McCarthy, and by the way, this video and McCarthy is on my playlist. And choreography by Arlene Phillips. 2014 Edmundburst Fringe Festival, debut at the Ambassadors Theater in April 2019. Kardashians, Break the Musical by Bob. Catdashians, it's a spoof about the Kardashians. Catdashians Break the Musical by Bob and Toby McSmith, June 2016. 6 Degrees of Separation, Angels in America, The Musical of Musicals, The Musical. Cat the Play, so it's a Broadway show. It's about a cat who was in a production of Cats, a musical. It's like, but it got kicked out of the musical and it went on, and it's like, haven't seen it, I don't know what it's about. 2016 Broadway revival featuring new choreography by Andy Blankenbuebler. Blankenbuebler. All of this is from Wikipedia. Okay, so illustrators Nicholas Bentley, 1939, illustrated the first book of Old Posse's Book of Practical Cats, which was going to be called, it was going to be called a different name. I forget I don't know what the name is, but it's in Wikipedia. It's like, he needs a cat name, and a cat in Hollywood. And then Edward Gorey, Gorey, in 1982, he did an illustration for Old Posse's Book of Practical Cats. They use his illustrations in Mystery on PBS, in the Sherlock Holmes series narrated by Vincent Price. It's like they were using his art. His art is amazing. It's like, then there's Alex Scheffler, 2009. Alex Scheffler went on to illustrate another story, The Gruffalo, and another children's book about a cat. So Alex Scheffler has illustrated Old Posse's Book of Practical Cats in 2009. The newest illustrator, and he needs a cat name, and so does Edward Gorey. And they need a cat in Hollywood. And Rebecca Ashdown, 2014, she illustrated Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats. She's also a children's illustrator. Her art is neat too, and you can check it out on YouTube. But just as a sample, you'll have to buy the book if you want to see all the artwork. So all four of those illustrators of cats needs a cat in Hollywood and a name. Of course, you'll need a song to go with that cat in Hollywood, or a poem in alternative. In 1954, English composer Alan Rathstorn, spelled Rawsthorne, wrote 6 sets for speaker and orchestra entitled Practical Cats. And I'm sure that's what the book was originally going to be called, but someone had given T.S. Eliot a nickname of Old Possum. It's like, so he used that name in the book. Actor Robert Donat, D-O-N-A-T, as the speaker. Humphrey Surley, S-E-A-R-L-E, composed an orchestral, 2 practical cats, consists, and you can see both of these orchestral works on my YouTube channel and the Jared Routson's Cats playlist. And I didn't care for them, but I haven't even listened to most of any of it, just the first few seconds. Because, like, researching this, I had to throw it all together. Consists of settings of the poems about Macavity and Growl Tiger. It's like I mentioned some cats who were being worked on again in Hollywood. The Chronicles of Narnia is one I might have forgotten to mention. So whoever worked on it for Disney is working on it for, is it Netflix? So we could see Aslan return in a series with all new actors. One of the actors who played one of the kids, you know, the kid that followed the White Witch, and got everyone in danger and made Aslan sacrifice his life for him. It's like, so the actor who played him has gone on to go into law in the British Parliament. I thought that was interesting. You can learn about all of these things on YouTube. It's like where all these actors are and where they went. And I forgot to mention in the last video that, yes, they are making a Lion King remake. Of course, you can watch The Lion King on Broadway. I'm sure it's an amazing show. Some of the people who did Cats the musical went on to help produce Cats for Disney, if I'm not mistaken. Or it's like they went on to work on a lot of other projects, you know, and one of these projects happens to be The Lion King, I think. And I was like, what right do I have to be cockalorum? One of, it's like, did T.S. Eliot name cats, Jellicle cats, after his cat Jelly Lorum? We don't know. So it's like, so what right do I have to be cockalorum? My rising sign or my my physical appearance, my outward self, the way the world sees me, is Leo the lion, which is the constellation, looks like a cat if you look at it. It has a tail, I think, not a... It's like, I don't think the tail is the neck, because it's a long tail. Leo is fixed, it's fire, it's masculine. That's the qualities of it. Plus my moon is... it's a full moon, well, it's 2 days after a full moon, so it's diminishing. It's like, and that moon is in Leo. And that moon, it goes into trine with Jupiter, which is in Aries, a fire sign, at some point. And it goes into trine with Mars for sure. But at some point it had gone into trine, which is a, what's trine? Is trine a 90-degree angle? it's a square. Excuse me. It's a triangle on the chart. It's the degree it's in. A perfect triangle. It's like, but only one of those aspects applies when I was born. The others applied while I was in the birth canal, because it took me 7 or 8 hours to be born. They had to use forceps to pull me out. And like when they pulled me out, it was 7:39 in Utah time, February 6th. It's like in Provo, Utah. It's like there at the Provo hospital. So it was, my moon is trine with Mars. It was earlier in trine with Mercury. And my Mercury and Mars at one point, maybe a few days earlier, were in trine with the planet Jupiter. And so my Mercury and Mars were also in a fire sign of Sagittarius. So any fire sign on the chart, I have it. Fire sign people are organized, they stay organized, they can initiate action. I don't know what else to say about them. T.S. Eliot says, some cats are good and some cats are bad, in one of his poems, the last poem of The Addressing of Cats. But what he doesn't write is, his cats are not all good. They're not, those good cats that are good, it's like, they're not completely good, or maybe not good all the time. It's like, or maybe their character is fickle and watery. And the cats that are bad, they're not bad all the time either. Like, so Darth Vader is a cat. He's, he shares the place of the Rum Tum Tugger. The actor might as well be a cat. Who plays Darth Vader in the newer movies. And of course, the voice actor of Darth Vader is in The Lion King as the voice of the dead king. He's a cat too. Check my Naming of Cats audiobook. All the actors in The Lion King, it's like they have a cat name in my audiobook. Including the singer who sings the song, I Just Can't Wait to Be King in the original Disney animated movie. So Darth Vader, it's like, he starts out as a likable character. He marries Princess Palpatine, played by, I forget her name, who might as well be a Pollicle dog because she plays a superhero. In Thor, there's like, and then he becomes a really awful, like a murderer, like Freddy Krueger. Darth Vader becomes that. But then in the end, he kills the emperor, the evil emperor, and somehow he regains the power of the power of the Force, for the good part of the Force. He becomes good again. So he wasn't completely bad and he wasn't completely good. But in the end, it's like, so as into life, it's like murderers get saved in jail, like when they receive Jesus as Lord. It's like, because sin can't keep you out of heaven because Jesus paid the price for all your sins, past, present, and future. And good works won't get you into heaven. Good works can keep you out if you're aligned on them. My pastor says, we were made for good works. It's a non-denominational church, I believe. We're made for good works, but they won't save us. It's like nothing we could ever do would be good enough. The only perfect life that was ever lived was the Lion of Judah, pun intended. Yeshua, Joshua, or in the Greek, Jesus, the Christ. I don't know what Paul used, if Paul used the Greek version of his name, or if that was just put in there by the translators. I mentioned I wouldn't be alive. It's like if Jesus hadn't have been born, and if he hadn't have died on the cross. And I'm sure if he hadn't been resurrected, we wouldn't have the rest of the story. The gospel writers never would have written the manuscripts we have. It's like they never would have come to Emperor Constantine. From the small groups of Christians that were left, they probably would have disappeared if Constantine hadn't made Christianity the official religion of Rome. And I'm sure we wouldn't have the book of Revelation. It's like if Christianity had not been made the official religion of Rome. Because I believe it was due to his efforts that those books had been compiled under his administration. Another thing about ancient civilizations, the Epic of Gilgamesh was founded in Iraq or whatever, was a translation of a Bible story or something that led up to the flood of Noah or something. Now they think there was a city with a giant king, and when they fought the war in Iraq, it might have been to get a hold of those ruins, to get a hold of the technology. Art Bell does an interview about it on Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell, which is now Coast to Coast AM with Chuck Norrie, which now he has a network called Gaia. It's like where he talks about that stuff. It's like they might have found the ruins of this giant king. It's like they might have found alien technology or a Stargate. It's like what they found, we don't know, because it's like, but there was a video on my YouTube channel about it recently posted, which is on, that video should be on the new playlist. It's called, what is my new playlist? I called it Endurance 2023, and the newer one is called, I forget, but I apologize. I don't want to look it up because I have to hurry. But it's on like grandiose videos or epic videos or some word in there like that. It's like the nasal test, the mask for Corona. It's like, do you know Bill Gates is a population control person? He's part of a group that dates back to World War II or whatever it is, but there's a monument, it's like that talks about how the world needs to, there's a monument in Europe, a major stone glyph with a carving in it, talking about how the world populations of the world need to be reduced. Knowing what we know now about their technology, what they can do to DNA and change DNA, and what micro technologies they can embed in things. It's like, do you want those mandates? Are they safe? Can you trust Bill Gates? Can you trust things that other doctors are saying is non-scientific, dangerous, deadly? Can you trust things when free speech is being censored? Whether that free speech was allowed on those venues or not. I talked about there are 5 different kinds of Liliths on your birth chart. One of them is a non-viable kind, so it's 6. Plus there's a star of Medusa, or some kind of star referred to as Medusa-like in the sky. So that's more like 7 forms of Lilith in your chart, and maybe there's other mythical stars too. You can look up those things on a Google search. I mentioned in the first video those love planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, those personal planets. The moon doesn't go retrograde, but it does go void, of course, for a few hours every 2 days, or even maybe longer than 2 hours. Until the moon enters into a new sign, then it's said not to be void, of course. It's like, well, what if it never makes an aspect in that sign? It's like, what if there are no aspects to make in that sign? Does it stay void, of course? The moon becomes void, of course, when it makes its last major aspect in that sign. It's like when your love planets or other planets are retrograde, like if your Venus is retrograde, or some of your love asteroids, which I posted the link to it on my Instagram page about the love asteroids. And the lots of fortune, which is a Greek astrological system. And I put who wrote the Greek astrological system in the articles, and the mythology behind those lots. Some of those lots we use normally, but there are lots, and how he calculates them, it's like that only the Greeks used. It's like, and in his articles, he beautifully describes the mythology behind each one. Of course, I want to preface this. So maybe astrology has some kind of influence or power. Maybe it's not just about the weather when you were born. It's like, but the God of the Bible created those things. It's like, he's more powerful than them. It's like, you can change your life through being a follower of Christ. It's like, he can make all of those things obsolete, I believe. That's my philosophy as a Christian. It's like, yeah, if you know what you're doing, you can probably predict a lot of future events. It's like, you can probably avoid a lot of trouble. But God is more powerful. It's like, he can do more for you than any sun, moon, or star can do. In fact, the Jews got in trouble for worshiping false gods. Some of those false gods were connected to the stars, like the Queen of Heaven. She was related to the moon. She was related to the stars or whatever. It's like, the Jews got into a lot of trouble when they put gods of this world, or rather like pagan gods, before they put Joshua. And so I just want to preface all of this because it's easy for me to get carried away as a curious researcher. But if your Venus is in retrograde, if other things are in retrograde that have to do with love or family, it's like, could that indicate, or your Priapus, it's like, which is an aspect of the moon, like Lilith is an aspect of the moon. They're not real planets, although there is an asteroid Lilith. There's a dust cloud in space that someone claimed to have called Dark Moon Lilith. Black Moon Lilith has two calculations of the moon, and that's the non-physical aspect. It's where she's farthest away from the moon. There's two calculations. Only one of them is really accurate. If your Venus is retrograde, does that indicate, and how it's aspected with your Mars and Mercury? It's like in your rising sign, your vertex, your north node, I don't know what else, other planets. It's like, could it indicate a propensity towards homosexuality? Or if you're a woman, to lesbianism? When I read about Venus retrograde, it indicates that you'll take a long time before you settle down in marriage. It's like, could any of those things indicate a propensity towards transgenderism? I don't know enough, but I think it's possible. It's like, I think if Priapus is in your first house, it's like on your rising sign axis, and you know, everything opposite of each other on that chart, everything in a 180-degree angle is an opposite. It's like the axis is opposite. It's a plus sign. It's a cross. It's like the west and the east. The east is your rising sign. Opposite that is your partner, which is in the west. On the top of the north is your career, and then on the bottom of that plus is the axis of your they have names for them, but it's your career, it's your ancestors rather, which is opposite from your career. It's your family, your ancestors, everything that's opposite on your chart. Like, what's opposite of my rising sign of Leo is Aquarius. They're both fixed signs. Aquarius is an air sign. It's fixed, it's air, it's masculine. Anything opposite is also masculine. It's anything, or feminine. Anything opposite is also fixed, cardinal, or mutable from each other. It's like, but it's an opposite element. Like, air and fire get along well. Earth and water get along well in marriages. And just because you marry another Earth, if you're an Earth sign and you marry another Earth sign, it doesn't mean you're going to get along well. But opposites do tend to get along well. And it's funny how a 180-degree angle is an opposite on your chart. It's like they interact with the world in opposite ways, but they have similar themes. It's like the most powerful aspect on your chart isn't an angle, it's a conjunction. If it's a sun or a moon, you have 12 degrees to get to that conjunction. I think after you get to that conjunction, it doesn't matter how far apart, how close it is. It's like once you reach the totality of that aspect, it's like it doesn't matter. It's only when the planets are moving towards each other. On your birth chart, you have a lot of aspects, but the ones that are moving away from each other, who already formed the angle, it's like they don't mean anything on your birth chart, but they meant something while you were in the womb. It's like those planets were affecting your God knit you in the womb. It's like, and those energies might have been affecting you, especially the slower moving planets when they were in aspects to each other. But the most powerful aspect is the conjunction. When one planet, if it's a sun or moon to a planet, the orb is up to 12. If it's a lesser planet, it can be 7 degrees in distance. Or if it's just a point on your chart, like a midpoint, the energy between two planets, the very middle of two energy on your chart of two planets, or it's like, or your vertex, your point of spirit, your point of fortune. Those are only 1 degree aspects, 1, 2, or 3 degrees at most aspects, where anything has an influence in them. But when something is conjunct something, like how my Mercury is conjunct my Mars, it's moving so close to it that those planets have a powerful influence. It's like, and it all depends on what houses it's in. It's like how it's going to affect you and what signs are your houses. All of that is calculated when you're looking at a birth chart. Another thing about the 3 things about the atmosphere, the theoretical concept of the ether, the heavy side layer in the atmosphere that they bounce radio waves off of. And then that frequency I was talking about, Schumann resonance in the atmosphere. It's like there's also another theory, and the healing properties of the atmosphere, referenced by a man on Instagram who's selling a health product. Referenced on my Instagram who's selling a health product. He talks about the atmosphere. But was there a different atmosphere before the fall of Adam and Eve? Was there a difference in the atmosphere? I bet there was before the fall of Adam. I bet things lived longer, they grew bigger. It's like plants probably grew stronger. It's like, and then after the flood of Noah, it's like when God said, well, man's age, Noah, it won't be your 700 years. It'll only be, what did he say, 120, 122? It wasn't 125 years. It's like, though a Chinese herbalist, he wasn't from Japan, I think it was from China, documented to live 230 years. It's like, but he used those herbs. The list of them is on my Instagram page. He had to use them every day of his life. He fathered many children. There's I think there's a photo of him. I'm not sure. It's like, so he lived from the time of the founding fathers of America to, whatever it was, 220 years afterwards. I believe it's real too. But after Noah, when God said man shall only live 120 years, was there a change in the atmosphere? Was there something changed? So life was less supported by nature, Mother Nature. It's like, when Adam fell, did animals before his fall. It's like outside of the Garden of Eden, which was probably in Africa. In Egypt, maybe, they theorize. It's like, but no one can see it because it's guarded by angels and by a flaming sword, I suppose. I don't suppose the Garden of Eden ever disappeared. So the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is still in there, and so is the tree of life, which is going to be in the New Jerusalem, that's coming down to earth in the next 10 to 20 years, you know. And like the nations are going to partake of the fruit of those trees. It's like, and the leaves of those trees are for healing. It's like, and whoever adds to or takes away from the words of the book of Revelation will not be allowed to partake of that tree. In one translation of the Bible, in another translation, it says their name will be blotted out of the tree of life in the King James Version. It's like, but that statement is not in the other translations of the Bible. So, in T.S. Eliot's poems, the dogs are in tribes. The peaks, the pollicles, the pums, and the palms, and there might even be another. It's like, I think that kind of describes certain breeds of dogs. Pekingese, Pomeranian, pollicle dog is probably a Yorkshire. It's like, so there isn't probably just one cat tribe called the Jellicles. It's like there are probably other tribes. It's like, other than the some of the poems I talked about, like the hippopotamus poem that they cut from my channel, there's a ballad of Billy McCaw. And out of that, we get the costume designer, who is Garfield's in The Tale of Two Kitties. He's the British Garfield, with who's the voice of What About Bob, who was the voice in The Jungle Book, the remake, and he was one of the leaders in the Ghostbusters. It's like, and then we get Julian Lynn, who is in the Ballad of Billy McCall, who Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote a song to it. But the entire poem of it wasn't published on Google search or YouTube, and I can't find the entire poem that song was put to. It's like, and Julian Lynn her cat is the, they actually put cats in Cats a Musical to this Ballad of Billy McCaw, and the barmaid, it's like that's Julian Lynn, and Billy McCaw is Garfield. Cat Morgan introduces himself, the actor who was in What About Bob, okay, and then the mimicking cat is was the one who designed and did the props and the set for the original Cats in 1982 in the West End. It's like, it was a revolving stage. And you know who else went to see it in the West End? Barbra Streisand was there. It's like, but it was making her claustrophobic, and she had to ask to either take a break or leave there. And she goes on to sing Memory, and I put her to Tigger the cat in Christopher Robin, the remake about Winnie the Pooh. It's like, the wonderful thing about Tigger's is I'm the only one, he says. It's like, so maybe Barbra Streisand isn't a cat, but maybe she relates to Tigger, who's the only one. It's like, so I mentioned about, I never would have been born without Jesus, without his death on the cross. Without his resurrection, there would have been nothing written about him. It's like, all of those things had to happen. It's like, Christianity had to spread. I'm pretty sure the founding fathers had to establish America. It's like even if Mormonism had survived the British rule, which I doubt. I wouldn't have been born without Joseph Smith or Mormonism or without the establishment of the Mormon settlers in Utah. It's like, it's like, but without America, it's like my parents never would have met, because they met in Washington, D.C., and they met as Mormons. It's like, so without America, never, it's like, even if Mormonism had survived, it's like my parents, their paths never would have crossed because they never would have been in Washington, D.C. back in the 70s. And then again, if we had remained under British rule, I'm certain World War II never would have been won. Of course, the Russians helped us win World War II. I'm sure we would have wouldn't have won it without the Russians. But we had the ability to manufacture tanks. It's like that wouldn't have been supported under British rule. It's like Americans had a military, wouldn't have been supported by British rule. It's like the kind of people that America produced wouldn't have been supported by British rule. It's like a strong, powerful American government where Einstein came and invented the atomic bomb. Wouldn't have been under, it's like, moreover, there wouldn't have been a Nikola Tesla who created electricity without American democracy, without American capitalism. I don't think it would have happened under British rule. It's like, they do taxes in Britain. So Britain wouldn't have survived. It's like if America hadn't protected Churchill in England in World War II. It's like surely the Germans would have won. That I'm almost certain, although I'm not a history buff. So if World War II hadn't have been won, I wouldn't have been born as well. And by all accounts, Hitler should have won. It's a miracle what those American soldiers did to win World War II. It's like they had to do something very strategic to have won. Is like I don't know the history for certain, but that's what I do know. Without American airplanes, it's like, and without Einstein being here and inventing the atomic bomb, really Hitler should have won by all accounts. It's like, and of course, without Andrew Lloyd Webber, I never would have discovered cats at all. Never would have heard of T.S. Eliot. It's like, even in college, like, not even my writing instructor, my creative writing instructor ever mentioned T.S. Eliot. Like, Professor Ackley in Survey of American Literature might have mentioned about him, but it never registered with me. Professor McGuire introduced me to the New Yorker magazine. The New Yorker magazine has the best writing you'll find anywhere. And in the New Yorker magazine, they've written about T.S. Eliot constantly. And one of those posts is on my Instagram page, where it talks about the improbability of cats ever happening. I'll get into that in a second. The fig tree generation. It's like, how do we know the rapture is about to happen and the Lord's church is about to be raptured in heaven and the 7-year Great Tribulation is about to start? Jesus talks about the fig tree generation. It's the Jews in the Bible who he was going to take away. He was going to take Judaism away from the black Jews and give it, who had been worshiping idols. He vows in the Old Testament, and he was going to give it to a group of new people. Those are the Hasidic Jews of today, the Jews from Europe. It's like, who were faithfully following the law of Moses and seeking God. Though their Mashiach is like not necessarily defined as the God of the New Testament. It's like, and they won't be saved unless they believe in Jesus while they're alive, or Yeshua, or Joshua. And they're making it illegal to talk about Christianity right now in Israel. But a fig tree generation is a generation of the Bible is 70 or 80, or if by good fortune, or what do they say in the Bible? If by good something, 80 years is a generation. Israel became a nation in 1948. In the spring of 1948, Jesus said, "Not all of those people will pass away before they see him coming." I believe it's him, not him coming in the Battle of Armageddon. I believe it's him coming in the rapture, but I could be wrong. Anyway, in any event, not all of the people born in 1948 will pass away before they see Jesus coming. Who had been born in 1948 of the nation of Israel. It's like not necessarily those people who had founded the nation of Israel. I don't necessarily believe that Israel is the original site of Jerusalem. I think Jerusalem is probably in the Kalahari Desert near Zimbabwe in Africa. Because Jesus said not a stone of the temple would remain. Well, what's remaining in the Jewish nation is a wall built by the Romans. That's not the Jewish temple. Although it might be Mount Moriah, where, because it's close to Egypt, where Abraham was, where he might have offered sacrifice to Abraham. Anyway, don't quote me on it, because I'm not an all-knowing person. And they say that the Ark of the Covenant, by an archaeologist, and the blood of Jesus has been found on that ark in a cave in Jerusalem. Israel has now been a nation for 74 years. Adam gave up his life, gave up 80 years of his life. Adam didn't live to be 1,000. He lived to be 900 and something. That equals 80 years. It's like, so if Israel's a nation for 74 years, we only have 6 more years until they turn 80. It's like, it could happen all of the book of Revelation can happen much sooner. There are I don't know if people are superstitious, but God forbids consulting. It's like consulting sorcerers, predictors of the future, maybe is what that is. People who talk to the dead or claim to be able to see the dead or talk. It's like, what does that all mean? And God forbids, like Saul consulted the witch of Endor, who claimed to bring up the prophet Samuel before Saul. It's like, or Paul cast out the devil out of the girl who was telling people, the Greek girl who was telling people their fortunes and their future. It's like, and then she couldn't do it anymore because she didn't have that evil spirit in her. And her 2 owners got mad and took Paul before the city of the Greeks. It's like saying that he was causing trouble for them. It's like, well, unfortunately, I've talked to one. She was White Buffalo Calf Woman from a Native American shaman. That was in Boise. It's like, oh yes, they know the future. It's like, this person did know it's like, this spirit did know my future. White Buffalo Calf Woman did know my future. But they also had a drum ceremony every month where everyone would come and like beat the drum, the heartbeat, of the drum. It's like, it's a real Native American tradition. Like Native American, like religion and knowledge is about the earth and whatnot. And it was never made for the white man, and white man will never discover it. But White Buffalo Calf Woman told me that the Boise Birds of Prey Canyon was the heart chakra for this planet and all worlds. It's like, so research the Boise Birds of Prey Canyon. It's like, it's an amazing place. It's like when you're there, you feel like you're in outer space. I kid you not. If you walk from one end, from the dam side to the bridge where they do symposiums, it's like you'll feel like you have walked through another world. But only go there during the when the park is open during the summer when it's really warm. And then there was a religious group who channeled some woman named Shoshoshoa Weston. So like when all of the Wiccans and pagans were like in this church meeting on Sunday, it's like Shoshoshoa Weston would go into this woman's body and like talk about things like, it's like if Macy Gray, if her music is White Buffalo Calf Woman, then it's like one of her songs at least. It's like then Jennifer Lopez is Shoshoshoa Weston. It's like they have a retreat. It's somewhere in far from Boise. It's like there's a flutist who plays music, like New Age music at their meetings. So yes, I mean, there are things that science won't explain. And these are not women acting and pretending to be saying these things also, I might add. It's like, they're very different personalities from their real person. It's like, so those are two unusual people I know. Then, of course, you had Madonna playing Hecate in her music video Frozen, and Baba Yaga in her music Nothing Really Matters. It's like, and Lilith in her music video Beautiful Stranger. And then, of course, I knew a witch in Boise. It's like there was an astrological store in Boise, a New Age store. It's like, but they were competitors with Crohn's Cupboard, and I'm ashamed to say I took her class for a year and a day. And she was a witch, and she was also a radio personality. It's like, and I call that the only song I could think of about this person. Her name was Janine. Wicca is alive and well in most cities, and it is alive and well in Boise. And just today, I found out a poster of someone celebrating the new spring holiday, which is have their holidays all year. It's like, and there's a poster, so it's alive in Winnemucca too. It's like, I even found a woman who talks about, this was at the doTERRA store. She's a biofield tuning expert, meaning they use these giant tuning forks to help you get rid of bad energy in your energy field. It's each tuning fork, one of them is a certain note. She's a certified biofield tuning practitioner, and she talked about her practice. Harmonizing imbalances in your body and mind with tuning fork sound healing. It's like, this sound healing is based on people who are able to see angels and how angels are able to heal people, like in Reiki. Well, I don't think it's a Christian concept, and I would avoid it like any other thing. But it's interesting how it's like those tuning forks can shatter when they put it into a person's energy field. If the person isn't ready to let go of something, or isn't ready to let go of an emotional thing or whatever. And you can look up biofield tuning, it's like, it's on YouTube. It's like, if that person isn't ready to let go of that thing, it's like, she doesn't force the issue, she just lets the person move on. But some people want to get rid of a lot of stuff. A lot of your illnesses are caused, apparently, according to her, by blockages in your energy field, or your aura, or your chakras, whatever you want to call them. It's like, and a lot of diseases can, according to her, be especially emotional disorders or psychiatric disorders. Of course, I believe some of those psychiatric people are possessed, and they need a priest, they need the Christian counseling, and they need an exorcist. It's like, but for other things, like maybe reactive attachment disorder, which is common in in infants in the Soviet Union, which is why you're not allowed to adopt them anymore in America from the Soviet Union. It's like some of those things can be treated with maybe with biofield tuning, or depression, or maybe there's many illnesses which we don't realize, which could be their healing process could be healed up with that. Another thing, Christians know that whatever says that God hasn't already come is of the Antichrist. I think the Antichrist could be not just one person. It's like, since Paul had talked about how Antichrist had come and gone, like the Emperor of Rome, Nero, who burnt people alive, Christians alive, not because he believed they were hurting people, but it's like for his political gain, accusing Christians of setting fire to the Roman city. It's like Barack Obama has been, his name in gematria, which is I think a Greek numbering or Hebrew numbering system to names or words, is 666, and so is the Vicar of Christ, the Pope, title of the Pope, and so is Prince Charles. His name equals 666. It's like they're one of them is going to get chosen to be the Antichrist during the Great Tribulation. It's like, and all three of those people I've mentioned, it's like if it's not them, it's like at least they would support the Antichrist based on statements they've made, their world philosophies. Like Prince Charles is an environmentalist, but not necessarily in a good way. I think he could turn it into a religion, like the Pope wants to make environmentalism a religion, and he wants to make Chrislam the religion, a one world religion where we all worship the same God. He says we all worship the same God. They've built an Abrahamic monument. It's like to Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, and we don't all worship the same God. And that's just for starters on that note, and I don't want to get into it very much other than trying to define what the mark of the beast is. Well, you can't add or take away from what the book of Revelation says the mark of the beast is. And is it possible to repent from the mark of the beast once you've received it in any way? It's like the consensus is no, but like if that square barcode with those 3 squares in it that they say is 666 is like, the number in gematria is 666. It's not 6.6.6. But if that barcode, like some say the barcode in grocery stores already is 666, but if that new barcode comes and you can't buy or sell goods without it, it's like, I don't have the authority to say that that's the mark of the beast, because the word stigma is the word used for mark in the Greek, and like that has to do with more like a tattoo or a stave or a pointy thing into your skin, and it's like that has more to do with a tattoo, more like a microchip implant, like the RFID microchip. It's like everything is set up for the RFID microchip already exists. The one world economy, a digital currency already exists. The technology for the 5G technology, and it's like, and the demonics all exist for the mark of the beast to do exactly what the devil wants it to do. And the supercomputer technology to control the world with it and maybe control the minds of the people with it is probably an evil demonic source computer that everyone will be worshiping, this statue that has the power to talk and to kill whoever doesn't worship the beast. So this is more like a computer with control to droids and robots that can fly into your house and kill you. It's like, and there's no hiding anything. Once you've taken the mark, there's no forgiveness. But it's like, is a vaccine the mark of the beast? It's like, could it have fallen angel DNA in it? It's like, could it be trying to change your DNA to make you not in the image of God? It's like, I don't know. It's like, it's like, can you take the mark of the beast without knowing it? It's not likely. it's like you'll have to be pledging your allegiance to an awful thing, like that would be denying Christ, that would be not denying God. Only, it's like, if you're trying to live forever with technology, then yes, that would probably be the mark of the beast or something lead in the beast system that would condemn you to hell, which might not be the mark of the beast, but it would still condemn you to hell, and there'd be no turning back and no forgiveness if you were to change your DNA or use nanotechnology to live forever or whatever it could be. It's the miry clay and the iron that don't mix. In the book of Daniel, it's the kingdom of the miry clay and the iron that don't mix that will be destroyed by the stone cut out of the mountain which is the gospel of Jesus Christ, which will roll forth from the mountain and crush all of the statues of all the kingdoms of the earth. The big statue that Daniel saw from the head of the statue, which is the first kingdoms of the earth made out of what are the metals, and it goes progressively down to our kingdom up to today, or during the beast system, during the 7-year Great Tribulation, which is going to be the miry clay mixed with iron. They're trying to make humans live forever with angel technology or whatever technology they want to use, but it won't mix. It won't work. If you want to know what Priapus and Lilith is as a moon thing, look it up on a Google search. I did on my YouTube channel. I referenced the love asteroids and the parts of fortune, the Greek parts of fortune. If you want to look it up on there. I wanted to say, it's like, there's like 20 love asteroids. And there's a lot of, I forget what the lot is called. I reference it, the lot of love or the lot of Eros. There's a meteorite about Eros and Psyche also on everyone's chart, if you're into that. And this article tells you what those asteroids are, what their number is, and how to look them up on a free ephemeris online. An astrochart, free astrochart online. One of those asteroids you should look up isn't just Juno or Vesta. It's like female asteroids that have to do with marriage. It's like who are goddesses in Greek mythology. One of the asteroids you might want to look up is Chiron, the wounded healer, the wounded warrior, and what that means on your chart. It's like, I guess anyone could be a jellicle cat if they really wanted to. If they could find an asteroid or something in their house of Leo, which in a normal chart would be in the house of Virgo, but back it up 30 days and you're not Virgo at all, you're really a Leo. According to Paul Harvey, that says the asteroid calculation is 22 days too fast. I think it's really 30 days too fast. It's like, I don't know how else you could be a cat astrologically, other than maybe you have a lot of fire sign from Sagittarius or Aries in your chart. Because cats are commonly linked to the element of fire, earth, air, fire, water. Cats are a fire sign. They have to do with fire. They're not a water sign like a mermaid, a dolphin, a whale. It's like what would be an earth sign? It's probably a goat, an ox, an oxen, the beast of the field. Whereas an air sign might be more like a bird or... But talking about earth signs, it's like, what could make you a jellicle dog astrologically? I'm thinking an air sign, like Aquarius, fixed air, masculine. Or an air sign like Libra, cardinal, masculine. Air. And Aries, not Aries, but the twins, which are Gemini, which would be air, mutable, masculine. And by the way, those three things repeat in a repeating pattern in the astrological constellation of. The only thing that's not included is the constellation of Fucus, which is right between Scorpio and Sagittarius. A Fucus. What does he mean? It's like, you can look it up on Google. I think he's wearing a snake, but he's a Greek mythological figure. I think to be a pollicle dog astrologically, you have to have heavy Aquarius or a lot of air signs in your chart. And remember, your birth chart is 30 days too fast. So if you think you're an air sign, double check it with Paul Harvey and how you actually act and feel, actually. The group that Andrew Lloyd Webber told Valerie, T.S. Eliot's widow and executor of his estate, who passed away in 2012 approximately, after a lot of Disney remakes had come out, including The Jungle Book, Alice in Wonderland, Shrek, and Puss in Boots. It's like, she died after a lot of those came out. It's like, the money she made from Cats the Musical, it's like, helped a lot of her estate and helped a lot of her causes. She has a society for the arts. It's like, but the group that Andrew Lloyd Webber said that he envisioned Old Possum the Book of Private Cats being like, not like a Disney cartoon, is Hot Gossip. But you know, Hot Gossip is a British group, and Sarah Brightman was in one of their videos with I Fell in Love with the Starship Trooper. So it's like, but they have a lot of music on, and their music is on YouTube. I think Sarah Brightman had already made her career with I Fell in Love with a Starship Trooper before she auditioned for Cats and met Andrew Lloyd Webber that way. In fact, a lot of people fell in love, it's like, and got married with the original cast of Cats. They fell in love and got married to each other. It's funny how Cats almost didn't happen. It's like, it's unlikely that someone like Andrew Lloyd Webber ever was born. It's like, someone like him never comes along. It's like, because Valerie Elliott wasn't going to sell the rights to just any musical composer, but she was charmed at first. The first time she heard Andrew Lloyd Webber's sketches, the ideas for her Cats. Then she brought along a poem called Grisabella. It was just a few lines. It's like, it had two clues on it. About Grisabella, something that T.S. Eliot said was too sad for children. She followed many a low resort in the grimy something of Tottenham Court. It's not, the original poem wasn't, she haunted many of low resort. Like, in other words, she haunted many poor people or many people in a slum. The original words was, she haunted many a low resort. Some of the words were changed in the musical so that it would make more sense. Haunted many a low resort is many slums. She haunted many slums, not she haunted many people in those slums. And then the other clue was, it's in my Instagram, on an article on Instagram. I think from the New Yorker article, How Cats Was Never Made. I don't think it was from Wikipedia. It's like, and the other part of the poem was, I forget, but it is in the song of Grisabella the Glamour Cat. Not in Memory, but in Grisabella the Glamour Cat. Memory was written by someone, but it didn't make sense, so they had another person from Andrew Lloyd Webber's cast rewrite it. It's like, so Memory was bad when it was first written. It was too sad by the first lyricist, so the second lyricist had to repair it. And of course, the rest of what's in Grisabella the Glamour Cat was taken from miscellaneous T.S. Eliot poems. It's like, as were clues about what the Heaviside layer was. It's like, and clues about the Jellicle Ball. It's like, and from that they put together what we now know as Cats. It does have somewhat of a story. It has they had to assign what all the characters do. Like old Deuteronomy is the head of the Jellicles, and his carrier outer is Munkastrap. It's like the magician of the group is Mr. Mistopheles. It's like and all the other names that weren't in the poems, but were in the Old Apostles' Book of Practical Cats, they used those names as some of the characters. They invented some of their own names, but most of the names in that play is used from T.S. Eliot's writings or from his own personal cats. And of course, all of those names I've assigned to persons, and some of those persons still need cat videos. Person, place, and a thing. Every cat has 3 different names, T.S. Eliot says in his book, The Naming of Cats. And of course, Jellicle Songs for Jellicle Cats was written by a lyricist, and I love it to death. And it has all these different varieties of cats in literature and in art. Delphical cat. Look at the name. Look at the words to that song. It describes a whole bunch of different kind of cats. On my Instagram, you'll learn about. There's a blogger who talks about it, and I took a picture of him and put it on my Instagram. A cat's healing per power. Well, in another another clip of a cat's healing per power, well, it reduces blood pressure. A cat helps your heart health. It helps muscle healing. The cat's purring on you. It's a stress reliever. A cat's purring on you helps with your dysphonia or your speech impediments. A cat's purr has apparently observable effects on wound healing. A cat's purr helps bone strengthening. Cats create purr vibrations with a range of 20 to 140 hertz, which are medically therapeutic for many diseases. If a cat is sad, it's like it might purr to you. Or it's like if a cat senses you have some kind of a need, like a service animal, like Canine Companions for Independence, like Halo. Beyonce sings a song called Halo. Well, my stepsister, it's like she had a service dog from California, from Canine Companions for Independence. It was part lab and part German Shepherd, and it knows 50 commands. It's so intelligent that it knows 50 commands. It's like you have to keep it trained. It's like, and you kind of have to discipline it. It's like, but this company was founded by the maker of Snoopy, I believe. The maker of Snoopy, or someone associated with Snoopy or the Peanuts. It's like, these service animals, you have to qualify. You go to a training camp. It's like they choose a particular animal, whether male or female. Halo is a female, and there's they have their pedigrees, like whether they're all laboratory retriever or whether they're it's a golden retriever and lab mix. So whether they're all lab or whether they're all golden retriever, it's like, or whether they're a mix. Those are the 2 dog breeds they use. To know 15 different commands is like amazing. And they can perform them just when you say, Halo, speak, and then Halo will bark for you. Or Halo, sit, Halo, roll. It's like there's different commands. So the movie they made about a guy whose life is saved by finding a cat on the street. It's a relatively new, it's based on a true story, a street cat named Bob. I think the movie is called A Street Cat Named Bob. I wrote the name Ragdoll. I don't know what that means. Okay. I wanted to read on here who the original singers of Memory here we go. Barbra Streisand, Barry Manilow. It's like Judy Collins, and she sings in Toy Story 4 or whatever, Clouds. And ice cream castles everywhere. La da 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 da. I really don't know clouds. It's like, and there's a new exorcism movie with Russell Crowe coming out. It's like what I would say to that is, that's love's illusion as I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. So Judy Collins sings Memory, and so does Johnny Mathis. So Johnny Mathis needs to be Pepe Le Pew. Judy Collins needs to be that multimillionaire cat who's real, who's from a German Versace fragrance designer who passed away. It's like, who has bodyguards and butlers and chefs, and it's like, even has a career in advertising. It's like Barry Manilow. I don't know what cat we could put him with, but it's like, and then there are the new Broadway performers and singers who have performed Memory. Andrew Lloyd Webber says of one of them, if you've heard her sing Memory, it's like you've heard one of the best renditions of Memory. It's like, then you have the original singers of Memory, like, who's the British singer who won American Idol, and then you have Sarah Brightman, and then you have one of the original singers in the Broadway show who sings Memory. It's like, I put her singing Memory to Growl Tiger, who is William Shatner going up into a space shuttle. But I believe the world is flat, and so I don't believe he really went up into space. It's like, who goes up into space? It's like, rich people don't go up into space. They have the technology to send people up into space. It's like, Sarah Brightman wasn't allowed to be an astronaut and go up into space, because then she'd have to tell the truth that there is no outer space. It's like, she was going to be an astronaut. Lance Bass never got to go up into space. The cosmonauts is like, England doesn't have a space program. Why? Because there is no outer space. It's like, we're being lied to and played and had. They can simulate weightlessness by an airplane going up high altitudes and then quickly flying downwards, and then they ease out of it, and then it's like, so William Shatner was probably in a flight simulation where they were going downwards, like the physicist who passed away, who had that disease. It's like, what was his name? Stephen Hawking. It's like, they say he's in hell now because he didn't believe in God. A lot of people on YouTube say a bunch of celebrities like Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson are in hell. Well, Michael Jackson is one of my Jellicle cats. Remember, cats can be, some are good and some are bad. Michael Jackson was a bad cat. His music was bad. And so I'm not going to publish the cat. It's that PBS cartoon with that cat that's a stick figure. I put his music to it, but I'm not going to put any music to cats that is not healing. And his music is not healing. It's like, if his power is from the devil, I wouldn't be surprised, because he even claims he sold his soul to the devil. It's like, So those new cats, the women who sing Memory, it's like their videos are on my YouTube channel playlist of cats, and I gotta get what their names are because they deserve their own cat. Cats has been references by that 1970s show. I forget what it's called. It was a science fiction show. It's like where they reference a Jellicle cat. It's been referenced in things that are it's like that are awful like cultural cartoons and stuff, shows, but I don't think The Simpsons ever. Yes, The Simpsons referenced cats, but they referenced it as a play called Rats. It's like the play was a musical about rats. And then I forgot to mention Zsa Zsa Gabor. It's like she's in the Aristocats, a play, something done in the 70s by Disney. So whether Walt Disney knew about it, I don't know, but Roy Disney knew about it, and Roy Disney didn't pass away until after he published Fantasia in the 2000s, perhaps. It's like, and then it's like, all of those people and Michael Eisner, it's like, and the directors, I put them with the Thundercats. Zsa Zsa Gabor was the voice of one of the cats in the Aristocats. It's like, I use some of her interviews and I put on my YouTube channel with some cat videos. I gave her a cat song. I used her own song for her own cat. Funny. It's like, and she sings with Liberace. She makes appearances with Liberace, who performs in the United Kingdom to the royal family and in America. It's like, Liberace is Top Cat in my... He does his music with Top Cat in my YouTube channel. Zsa Zsa Gabor was also in The Rescuers, so she was also a mouse. She plays a mouse. Zsa Zsa Gabor is a Capricorn like I am, so she's a mermaid. She's not a goat. She's a mermaid. They just use the goat as an example. Mermaids have transformative, transfigurative powers. I don't know to me what that means, but maybe it has something. It's like, and then you got them making The Little Mermaid, the Disney remake. It's like, will all these remakes come out in the Sword of the Stone remake and Hercules remake? Will they come out before America's economy collapses intentionally? It was designed to collapse. The Bilderbergers and the banking system and the Federal Reserve, it was all designed not to work. It doesn't make sense to me anyway. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's by the Illuminati, the English bankers. It's like, it was designed to collapse so they could put us on a digital currency and control our money even further. They can shut off your money. They can, if they don't like, the government doesn't like you, like in China, they can shut off your bank account. That's what's going to happen soon. God only gave man one kind of money, gold and silver. Everything else is a lie. It's like any currency that's not, it's like fiat currency, paper currency, it's not real money. It's like during Nixon administration, we moved from the gold standard, silver standard, to oil standard. And then from there, it just turns into paper and printing money. It's like, and now it's going to turn into something sinister like digital currency, cryptocurrency. It's like, so like before it's like, and Congress is trying to pass it through, and so is Canada. It's like, you gotta be watching them. It's like Joe Biden tried to give American sovereignty over to the World Health Organization so they could dictate our health decisions, not the 50 states, but China and one man in the World Health Organization, which is connected to NATO. NATO, the world, in Switzerland, it's like, and the United Nations. It's like they're still trying. Joe Biden is still trying to do it. It's like I don't know how long we can stop him from doing that. Without gold and silver, it's like it's not real. Money isn't real. Just because Congress says it's real doesn't mean that it is. It's like, what is our things backed by? It's like, It's not even legal to do something other than what God has already established. The Federal Reserve isn't even controlled by Congress, and when JF Kennedy tried to nullify the Federal Reserve, it's like he was assassinated. It's like when he tried to keep America on the gold and silver and like not income, not wealth based on debt. Our wealth is based on our debt, how much we spend, how much we owe other countries. It's like that's bound to collapse very soon, and it shortly will because of the debt we've incurred. It's like it doesn't make any sense. It happened during the Titanic. It's like the people on the Titanic were trying to sail over to America to prevent it from happening, and the Federal Reserve was passed under the table in Congress when it happened. The Titanic was sunk to prevent those people from stopping the Federal Reserve. It was legislation that established the Federal Reserve. It was illegal because no one in Congress knew what was happening when that legislation passed. And again, it's not controlled by America. It's controlled by some independent party. It's like, and they're probably controlled by the British bankers and the shadow government, the ruling class, the one world government, the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, because all those bankers are linked to those satanic institutions, if not the Freemasons, you know. It's like the Freemasons' goal is to overthrow God, whether they realize it or not. Cats almost didn't happen. So back to Andrew Lloyd Webber, it's like someone like him doesn't come along. Look at what he's composed very often, like Once in a Blue Moon. It's like, so he did some things early on in the 70s. Joseph's Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. That's referencing Joseph of the 12 tribes of Israel. And then he did Jesus Christ Superstar. And then he worked on Evita. And he'd been thinking about cats around that time. How as a child, his parents would read to him that book. Of course, as a child and in the education system, I never heard about Old Possums Broke Up Practical Cats. Neither did the dance choreographer of Cats ever heard about that book either. It's like, it's been a big secret. It's like, but knowing those poems and like knowing he could maybe do with something, it's like, and then when he presented his ideas to Valerie and say, could we have the permissions, it's like, to do something with this book. It's like, and then she introduced to him Grisabella. It's like, and then it all happened. But they had to piece together what the Heaviside Layer was and what the Jellicle Ball was, and they really came up with something. They had something with cats that was, what was the word? Extraordinary. Something, it was an epiphany. Like the wise men, 3 wise men, like guided to Jesus with astrology. It was an epiphany. It's like, but then Judy Lynch at the last minute broke her Achilles tendon, and she was out of it. It's like, what else did the New Yorker article say? It's like, funding was almost impossible to find. Andrew Lloyd Webber had to mortgage his home just to get funding. It's like, it was a desperate appeal in the newspaper for some funders. It's like, they were worried. There was something about the early development of it. It's like, they couldn't come up with the song Memory. It's like, there was disagreement between the dance choreographer and the costume designer. It's like they could have shut the production down if they had if either one of them had backed out over it. okay, so one of the major component producers of Cats had to back out at the last minute. They had to find a replacement for him. Investors were becoming worried. Nothing was happening until the last minute also. What else did the article say? Lynn had to convince Weber of something. It's like before anything could proceed musically. It was a big negotiation she had to do. She had to show that the dancers had to do something. They needed a break or something. And like I say, Memory had to find another writer of the lyrics. I don't know what else went wrong. It's something out of this world kept it going, because even after all that, and maybe there's a little bit more that I don't know, and maybe I don't know, it's like what I do think I know. It's like, the people working on Cats aren't normal people. It's like they were some of the most creative people in all of Broadway. And from Cats, they went on to go and produce other things, and in the really useful group, including Phantom of the Opera, which is really probably based on the love that Andrew Lloyd Webber had for Sarah Brightman when they were married. It's like, and they stumbled upon the story and they loved the story. The story is about a French opera company called the Opera Populaire. It's like, and I love the movie they made with Gerard Butler. It's like, and I want to see Love Never Dies. You can buy it as a movie. You can't watch it for free on YouTube. Sorry. It's like, I want to do it. I've done everything else for free on YouTube. But some things you have to pay for. Some things are not free. Like Madonna sings in her song, "This type of modern life, it's not for me. This type of modern life, it's not for free. American life, I live the American dream. You are not just a dream. You are the best thing I've seen." That's on Madonna's album, American Life. It's like, I can't always have listened to Madonna, so I'm glad I found Andrew Lloyd Webber. It's like, can you do Madonna your whole life? It's like, no. It's like, you need someone like Andrew Lloyd Webber. Sarah Brightman went on to sing Andrew Bocelli, Time to Say Goodbye. It's like tragic songs. It's like melodic songs she does a lot, but tragic. It's like Andrew Lloyd Webber's music is not tragic. It's not like that. And by the way, Sarah Brightman is a talent is equal as Andrew Lloyd Webber. It's like, and her talent has nothing to do with Andrew Lloyd Webber per se. It's like, but she's known for a lot of her work from Andrew Lloyd Webber. Who is a Leo? It's like, okay, so the person I originally signed, Grisabella the Glamour Cat, before it became Jennifer Hudson, playing Aretha Franklin in the movie. So Aretha Franklin, is she Grisabella the Glamour Cat, or is Jennifer Hudson being reborn in a new Jellicle life to play Jennifer Hudson, Aretha Franklin in her documentary movie, like they made a documentary movie of Whitney Houston recently. It's like, and of Mr. Rogers, and of Walt Disney, and of that painter on PBS. They made a documentary of him. I forget what his name is. He did landscape paintings of nature. It's like, I'm loving it. It's like, so who's Grisabella Glamour Cat? Was it Aretha Franklin, or was it Jennifer Hudson, who was reborn as Aretha Franklin in that movie? And Jennifer Hudson is is in Hercules, the Disney movie, on a cruise ship. Not a movie, but the musical on a cruise ship. She's one of the muses. Which name it is, I don't know. Jennifer Hudson has an extremely tragic life. Her mom and family were killed by someone she knew. Very tragic. But for me, Grisabella the Glamour Cat has remained Stevie Vance, who played in Mr. Roper or Three's Company, and she plays with Christopher Reeve. Ha! I remembered his name. Christopher Reeve played Superman, and Stevie Valance is played in one of the movies, not a Superman movie, but in one of the movies. And she plays the kangaroo in Zoobly Zoo, who to me looks like a cat from Cats, the musical, only she's all pink, completely pink. It's like whoever designed the costumes of cats, I know his name, it's like he designed each one to be a certain way. It's like, to me, she's Grisabella the Glamour Cat in the music video that I made of her on my YouTube channel. It's like, in video one, you learned that my dad is the cat is a fancy Arabic name, Ali Bag, or I forget what it is. It's like when I make the music video of the 5-fingered exercises, which is sung, it's like two Walt Disney cats video of cats infesting the park. It's like you'll understand who he is. It's like you'll understand my cat Cockalorum if you listen to my poem. It's like, and how the only person who could be that cat would be me, with someone like Cockalorum, the name. It's like Simon Cowell, who's Old Deuteronomy in America's Got Talent. It's like he would say, well, he's rather cocky, isn't he? I was like, well, the pun intended is something I mean, but you'll know why. It's nothing vulgar. It's like when you hear the poem about it. And I'm running out of time and things to say, but I plan on reading those 5 poems before I film them. Unpublished poems of T.S. Eliot, which are on my Instagram page in 2 separate posts. And I've told you to what characters I'm going to post them to out in general. It's like what actually happens as an original audio or then the concept video becomes something like magic happens. Michael Ballum, the leader of the Utah Opera Festival and professor at the music at the University of Utah, says something magic happens in music. Well, something magic happens when I put those songs, that music, and any music out in general, to anything in Hollywood or film or... and I'm still learning. Like Mary Poppins, like Julia Andrews is still learning. And they have that story in Mary Poppins where Dick Van Dyke is still kicking and well. It's like, look at the complete video footage of the premiere of Mary Poppins, which is in the Blu-ray edition of Sleeping Beauty. Not the remake of Sleeping Beauty with Angelina Jolie. The premiere of Mary Poppins, they say a lot. It's like, and that's a year before Walt Disney died. The same year T.S. Eliot died. They both died of smoking. It's amazing that T.S. Eliot was ever a poet. It's like he should have been drafted in World War I. He got out of it because of a health problem. But their smoking, both of Walt Disney and T.S. Eliot, their smoking caused them to die, and relatively in the short same year of each other. By the way, Steven Spielberg was going to make a cartoon version of Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats. Probably there's Grisabella in there. I don't know how he could get the rights for it. But their studio went out of business for some reason, and the idea was scrapped. But you can still see sketches of the animated cartoon version of those cats, if you know where to look. Too bad it never happened. He probably would have done a great job. It was going to be set in post-World War II Europe or something. But but Steven Spielberg should have done it, and he could have done it, and would have done it. If he had done it, I would have known about the production a lot sooner. But Mary Poppins is like, so who we know to be Tom Hanks, he's a Jellicle cat. I gave him a name. He's even in a new movie with a cat. He directed Where the Wild Things Are in children's literature, and he, I forgot what all I said about Tom Hanks, but he's in Pinocchio, a remake of Pinocchio. There's a lot of cats in that one. So who is a true lion? It's like, who is a true Leo? It's like, well, whoever they say in The Secret Language of Birthdays book, where it lists each day of the year, tells what the name of that day is. Like February 6th, Ronald Reagan is called the Day of Popularity, and each week is given a title also. And it's like, so whoever they say is Virgo the Virgin is really Leo the Lion in that book. And it's like, you'll find that Stevie Valance, who plays the kangaroo in Zoobly Zoo, so she is, her sun sign is Leo. Madonna is not a Leo. She is really she's a water sign, her sun sign at least. I don't know what their rising signs are, because you have to know the time of day you were born to know the rising sign. It's like, but Madonna is a Cancerian. I thought JC from NSYNC was a Leo. No, he's a Cancerian, which is cardinal. It's the doing signs. Cardinal is the doing signs of the zodiac. It's like evolution didn't happen in the Big Bang. Those zodiac constellations repeat in a three-way pattern that cannot happen without a higher power either causing it in the Big Bang or more likely putting it there through the creation of the flat Earth. By the way, there's a new post on my Instagram of 2 channels on Instagram that talk about the flat Earth and how it went to court, and the person who siding on the flat Earth side and not the Big Bang side, his case won in court. It's like flat earthers have all the arguments, they win, they have all the cards, they win every time. Some Christian on YouTube says the people who believe in flat Earth has something in their auras that he can see. It's like, whoever believes in the flat Earth is like they're cursed, he says. It's like, he's the same guy who says those who believe in once saved, always saved are not good Christians, and he wants nothing to do with them. It's like, I'll get into that in a moment. A bodybuilder who's from Gymshark, who knows David Lade, who's a Capricorn. James English is a Leo the Lion. So if you want to know what Leo the Lion looks like in the fashion modeling industry, James English is. And he left Gymshark. And so my rising sign is Leo, my moon is Leo. So I kind of look like Grumpy Cat. So which of the varieties of cats, it's like that I posted on my Instagram, it's like, would I associate myself? Is it the ragdoll cat? It's like, there are some cat breeds that are so expensive that you would pay an arm and a leg to own these special cat breeds. It's like, cats are so diverse, and their world history is pretty diverse too. In some countries, they're infested with cats. Disneyland was infested with cats. The story is on YouTube. It's like, but they needed them. It's like to control the mice population. But in Japan, they're infested with cats. Probably they're infested with dogs too, where they're infested with cats. Other Leos, I I can't think of them offhand, but they're listed there in The Secret Language of Birthdays, which is a book you could find at Hastings back in 1995. Is also, they published The Secret Language of Birthdays. And there's some other interesting books about the stars and what their meaning is on your chart, if you know what they are. Other than that, I can't recommend any other books about astrology. In that book, the Leo is actually going to start August 22nd to September 22nd is when Leo actually exists. Even though they claim that's Virgo the Virgin, it's not, it's Leo the Lion. Virgo the Virgin is mutable, earth, and feminine. Well, those people are not that. They're fire masculine and fixed. It's like they're people you can't change. So for a list of Leos, it's like check out that book or check out birthdays of people born on those days. There are some actresses who have been Leos in Hollywood. Or who in history is a famous Leo, I'm not sure. Would the birth chart of America correlate with what's going to happen astrologically when America collapses? I don't know. And when does that happen? Nostradamus. It's like, yes, he endorsed the Catholic Church his whole life. He wrote that book, The Elixirs of Nostradamus, or he had those cures for the plague. It's like, but for endorsing the Catholic Church is the only way to heaven. It's like, except he was a, it's like he knew astrology and he used the art, the occult, forbidden art of divination. It's like to peep into the future. All of his predictions up till now have come true. It's like, but if he never saw the second coming of Jesus, obviously, no man knoweth the day or the hour, the Lord Jesus said. It's like, so Nostradamus would never be able to see Jesus' coming or the Battle of Armageddon, or it's like whether the two prophets killed in Jerusalem during the Battle of Armageddon, who could call down fire from heaven, who could call famine and plagues upon the beast system and the followers of it. It's like, whether they're dead in the streets of Jerusalem on TV, national TV, international TV for 3.5 days, or whether they're dead for 3.5 years, I'm not sure about that. It's like, if you can put together all the pieces for the book of Daniel, the book of Zechariah, and the book of Revelation, and make them all make sense, it's like, and is there anything in the book of Ezekiel? I don't know. But it's like, if you can make it all make sense, it's like, good luck. Only the Antichrist is probably not it's probably not King Charles. It's like, though he's preaching about environmentalism, though his name is 666 in Gematria. It's like, because the Antichrist in the book of Daniel women will not find him attractive. And whoever worships his image is damned. It's like, in the image of the beast, or the mark, receives the mark of the beast, the number of his name. It's like, Barack Obama still might be the Antichrist, although we don't know who it's going to be, because women will not love him. Well, Barack Obama, he's married to Michelle Obama. Doesn't she love him? But Michelle Obama is a man, folks. It's like what they talk about her on social media. It's like, they tried to doctor out the pictures, but in the pictures, she has a penis beneath her pantsuit or whatever. It's like, Barack Obama was never a Christian. He's always endorsed Islam. He wants a one-world government, he said in his statements. It's like, he always is talking about how people are accusing him of being the Antichrist. He is The sixth king, it's like you talk about the kings in the book of Revelation. The sixth king, there's 7 or 8 kings mentioned in the book of Revelation. They're American presidents since Jimmy Carter, not Ford or Nixon. They're not. They I guess neither one of them were powerful enough. Elaine Page sings Memory in the White House with some other show tunes, and so does the Mary Martin, who plays Peter Pan. They sing at them before Ronald Reagan. All you will see is the girl you once knew. She sings that one to Evita. All you will see is the girl you once knew, although she's dressed up to the 9s with 6s and 7s with you. My mom was a secretary of President Ford. It's like that part came true of that song. It's like, and my dad was working as a Marine for the commandant, and they met in a Mormon ward shortly when the Mormon LDS Washington, D.C. temple was built. That's how they met. It's like, but as for the 8 kings, so they say the 6th king is replaced by, so the 6th king is replaced by the 5th king, who becomes the 7th king. Who was so since Jimmy Carter, who's a Christian who's retiring, it's like Jimmy Carter is like retiring. A lot of people are retiring. So since Jimmy Carter, the 5th president was Barack Obama, the 6th president would be Barack Obama. The 6th president was replaced by and this was the 7th president was who should still be president, in my opinion. I'm going to vote for him anyway. It's like, if he runs again, is Trump. He is replaced by the 5th king, who becomes the 6th king, who becomes the 8th king in the book of Revelation. Who is the 8th king? Well, the vice president of Obama. Whatever Obama wants, he's doing whatever Obama wants. Who is our president right now in 2023? I'm sorry, I can't think of his name. It's like, but really, who the 8th king really is Obama, not the vice president. It's like the president now is just the puppet master, or Obama is just the puppet master of this current president in office, who's on dementia drugs. It's like he can't remember anything. No one showed up to any of his rallies. Joe Biden. Okay. He's the one that tried to sell out our sovereignty to the World Health Organization back in August of 2022. It's like when it was the meeting of that was all kept quiet. It was all kept under wraps. No one knew about it, what they were really doing. It was being confused with some other action they were taking also. It's like you really had to know what was going on to show up for it, to protest it, and only 2 Republican congressmen or senators knew about it in the end to stop it from happening. All of that information was published on my Instagram. So I can't think of any more Leos offhand. I'm embarrassed. It's like, but I don't know the birthdays of famous people for mostly anyway. One of the cats that I use as a person for Aslan, or the magical Mr. Mistopheles, He's a Christian. He's a pastor. He's talking. He has a blog on YouTube and Pastor Tim, is it Tim Henderson? Once again, he's a once saved, always saved pastor. Is it Tim Henderson? I think it is. He's Aslan the Lion. It's like, he's waiting for the rapture and he's ready for it. Aslan the Lion was written by, the Chronicles of Narnia was written by another British person who knew, the person who wrote, J.R. Tolkien, who wrote the Ring, Lord of the Rings cycle and The Hobbit. Not a cycle, that's Wagner. It's like, okay. So, C.S. Lewis, he's another person you should look into. A famous Christian who's written things about Christianity in a literary point of view. So, Tim Henderson inspired me. Once saved, always saved. The second you believe you're a sinner, because the Bible says all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, it's like, and it's like, who doesn't confess the Jesus Lord? Because the Bible is written and it's a matter of faith. How could you not believe in your salvation? It's like, how could you not believe that Jesus is who he says he is? As a matter of faith. It's like, the second you believe you're a sinner in need of a Savior, and that you believe that Jesus died on the cross for all your sins, past, present, and future, when Jesus said on the cross, it is finished, it's like, and God the Father raised him to life on the third day. Pastor Tim Henderson says, you're saved, sealed, and delivered to the day of redemption. It's like, and he has a lot of other things to say about it, but that's the nutshell of the gospel in my mind. It's like, you shouldn't ask for forgiveness for things you do wrong every day. It's like, there's sins of omission and sins of commission. It's like, everyone commits sins of omission because no one could be Jesus and not omit doing things. It's like, so everyone sins whether they realize it or not. It's like, through the sin of omission, omitting to do things, omitting to be righteous, omitting this and that. It's like, but for sins of commission, like when you tell a lie, or it's like when you sin, it's like, it's as bad as if you had murdered. It's like, in that it keeps you out of heaven. It's like, however, you shouldn't keep asking for forgiveness for it. That's non-biblical. The word repentance isn't even in the Bible. It's like, taking up your cross and following Jesus is not in the Bible. It's like, only he could take up his cross and do what he did. It's like, so it's like, but once you believe in Jesus' finished work on the cross for you and for all of mankind, he died for everyone. It's like, everyone had been covered. It's like, except, it's like, even like infants and young children, at what age, I don't know, that they no longer become covered. It's when their mind when their mind knows the difference between good and evil. When is that? 3 years old, 2 years old, 5 years old? I don't know. It's like, but if they haven't heard about Jesus and know who he is and received him as Lord through the faith in him, it's like, they'll go to hell when they die. Just like most of the world's population of 20 billion people, only about half of them are Christians or are saved or are people who had died in infancy. And Jesus says in the Bible, not all Christians will be saved, like the people who are relying on their works. Lord, didn't we cast out demons and do many good works in thy name? And he'll say, depart from me, ye workers of iniquity, for I never knew you. They were relying on their works to save them, for their righteousness. It's like, and no one is good except for God. It's like, the only way to get into heaven is to actually be Jesus. And so other than Tim Henderson, it's like, so there was that guy who has that channel who was saying once saved, always saved is like not Christianity. It's like, but if you put it to, what once saved, always saved believers to contextual criticism of the Bible and a proper understanding of theology, such as Matt McMillan. So Tim Henderson, his ministry is on YouTube. Matt McMillan is an author, Christian author. His ministry is on Instagram and YouTube. He can tell you exactly why once saved, always saved. He has the biblical verses to back it up, and the contextual criticism to refute those who say works or being good is required at all. Again, my pastor says, in fact, we play no part at all in our own salvation. It's like, how could you not believe that Jesus is Lord? It's like Jesus does say, if you confess my name before men, he'll confess your name before the Father. But if you deny his name before men, you'll also deny, he'll deny your name before the Father. It's like, so if you're practicing Wicca, the occult, or you're some other religion, but you know that Jesus is Lord, don't deny that he's that before men. It's like, go to the guillotine in the concentration camps and the FEMA camps at Walmart, or the Japanese or Chinese or whoever, the Russians, whoever they're going to invade America. It's like, die. It's like, if you're left behind in the rapture, die before you deny the name of Jesus. Tim Henderson says he would rather die than deny the name of deny Jesus. It's like, so other than those two, there's other amazing Christians. Like, there's the who's that Vlad? Who's that Russian guy who's an American? But he's Pentecostal. It's like, Pentecostals can cast out devils out of people. They can do exorcisms. They're not Catholic. It's like, I don't believe Catholicism is true Christianity, by the way. Though if you believe in the Lord, it's like, you believe in God the Father, it's like, who's the guy, minister on the Bible prophecy show with Rex Sola? It's like, he passed away a few years ago. It's like, he says the Catholics are saved because they believe a certain creed that Christians believe in. I forget the name of the show, but he was talking about biblical events unfolding in the news, how we know it's going to happen. I apologize that I don't know his name, but he did have a show with Rexola as the co-host, and it's like they talked about Bible, the coming Bible events and things in the news. And so the Christian Satellite Network has inspired me, and they've told me a lot about the New World Order agenda and the coronavirus. The Christian Satellite Network includes, it's a radio station that includes Olive Tree Ministries with Jan Markell, who said, she's on YouTube, says a lot about what's going to happen in the last days. Don't let anyone talk you out of your salvation. It's like, and don't let anything claiming to be the mark of the beast that isn't talk you out of your salvation. If you take the mark of the beast, it's like, don't give up on the fact that maybe you could, it's like, renounce the Antichrist and it's like receive it. But if you take it, you're probably going to be possessed, to be honest. If the computer isn't possessing you, or a demon computer isn't possessing you, then the devils probably are. Because you've pledged your allegiance to the beast and the beast system instead of Christ and his finished work on the cross. It's like, works of the law is not the cross. It's like, my pastor says we're made for good works, but you have to remember that won't save you. It's like, and if your whole emphasis is on an evangelical ministry and casting out demons on people like they do on YouTube, it's like, Malachi Martin is a Jesuit priest who was on the Art Bell show, and he talks about exorcisms. It's like, and they're real, and they're dangerous too to the priest. And it's like, that person has to want to be delivered. It's like, and probably has to want to give up the sins that were causing this problem, I'm guessing. It's like, but I'm not a theologian. Malachi Martin, his work is on YouTube, and so is Art Bell. And Art Bell interviewed, and Art Bell loves cats. He was a cat lover. He says dogs have nothing on cats. It's like, and if you don't love cats, it's like, what do you love? Is like, according to him, it's like his widow is still alive, probably. I believe Art Bell was probably put down by his enemies, by people who don't like him talking about what really is, like, did Roswell really happen and all of that. Art Bell also interviewed a witch, a devil worshiper. Of course, the Church of Satan is growing. Paganism is also growing around the world, and the Church of Satan is growing in America. It's going to be our downfall. It's like there's a lot of Satanists, though, who have been saved, who have converted to Christianity, who are on YouTube. It's like they tell their story about how they were working with the devil, and they knew it. It's like, and how they converted and to Christianity, and Jesus saved them. So it's never too late. Until it's too late, until you're dead. It's like, then it's too late to be saved. Unlike what the Mormons teach. It's like, Mormons teach everyone's they're on Mount Olympus, their God is Zeus, they believe they're becoming gods, they'll be married in the next life. Jesus said there's no marriage, nor giving in marriage in heaven. They believe they're going to have spiritual offspring in heaven. It's not happening. Paul says, we don't yet know what we will be in heaven, but we know we will be like Jesus, for we will see Jesus as he is. But back to Art Bell. He's a Jellicle cat. I gave him a name, and he's the Cowardly Lion from The Wizard of Oz, I think. It's like, though I haven't made a music video of it. And I forget what I was going to say about Art Bell other than he had been murdered, probably. His death wasn't actually a real death, although it was made to look like a real death like most celebrities. The Great Rumpus Cat might be Billy Graham. The Great Rumpus Cat might be Billy Graham. And the Pollicle dogs might be the Korean singing group BFS, or whatever their name is. It's like, who scattered like sheep. It's like, in the poem, The Great Rumpus Cat, or, what was the name of the poem that he appeared in? The Battle of the Peaks and the Palms, which is in Old Paulson's Book of Practical Cats, I think. Grisabella the Glamour Cat never appeared in Old Paulson's Book of Practical Cats because T.S. Eliot thought it would be too sad. Remember, T.S. Eliot wrote 9 plays. 2 of them are on YouTube. Murder at the Cathedral and some other sitcom kind of a thing, like a family sitcom play. A sitcom play like I would think White Sage Theater in Winnemucca, Nevada. They put on plays, and like they put on Holder Posey's Felonious Photographer. It's like the librarian who wanted me to be an understudy in that is like, she had me collect books for her at Sonoma Industries, including John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath and other things, but she left town. I don't know where she lives anymore. But the White Sage Theater put on a play recently that's on my Instagram page. It's hilarious. They put on a Christmas play. It's hilarious. The play was at the Boys and Girls Club. It's a murder mystery play. It's hilarious. But T.S. Eliot went on to become a philosopher. It's like he went to Harvard. It's like he almost finished his work in English literature. Maybe he almost got a PhD, but he wasn't there for the oral exam, but he did all the work. So he knows many languages also. He knows, he studied the Indian Sanskrit, the India, not Native American Indians, who have their own languages that helped us win World War II. It's like, so he knew a lot about literature, about languages. He tried to do something in French, write something in French. I don't know if it was successful. It's like, but he wrote a lot of things on philosophy, and they're published in books, and they can be found on YouTube on my playlist, or at least reviews of them or scholarly presentations about his work and what it means. But, you know, when it comes right down to it, as far as cats is concerned, T.S. Eliot loved cats. He had lots of cats. He understood cats. Andrew Lloyd Webber had a cat, and he understood cats. You'll know, because when you hear his music, you'll know that you're listening to the personification of a cat. There are a lot of inspiring Christians on Instagram, and they're talking about end-time Bible events, as well as why not to go to hell. People who were witnessing, who have seen hell. It's like, although I don't know if that's real or not, that Jesus showed up and showed them hell. If in your dreams and visions Jesus is white, if he's the Catholic, if he's the son of the Catholic Pope from the Middle Ages, or the Renaissance, who is white, and I believe history is only 1,000 years after Christ, not 2,000 years. That coins, it's like, prove that history is only 1,000 years till Christ, from Christ. It's like, if you're seeing a white Catholic Jesus, it's like, think again, because once again, I believe Jesus is black. The verse in the Bible that said his hair was white like wool, like an afro. His eyes were like gemstones. African black eyes, their continents in their eyes add up to gemstones. His feet was burnt like brass, like in an oven. Like African feet have white. Their hands, the palms of their hands and feet are white, so the effect is like uneven burning of metal of brass, in an oven. They had brass back in the time of Jesus, so they can describe it. Burnt bronze or burnt brass, what is it? It's like the slaves being slaves according to Abraham for 400 years, that the black African slaves brought over to America. That from the time they were brought over till a few years ago, it's been 400 years. Their servitude has expired. Why? Because America is about to be destroyed. Yeah, we'll all be free once we're all destroyed, or taken up in the rapture. If you get left behind in the rapture, don't give up hope, because there'll be 144,000 Jews who will be saved during this time. But you have to put your faith in grace instead of works if you're left behind. It's like, and the Jews will be converted as a nation at the end when Jesus establishes his millennial reign. And I guess that's all I wanted to say for now. I don't even know if this is too long to post. Wikipedia gives you all the people who have ever worked on cats. Cats dancing out on the street on Good Morning America, I thought was hilarious. Their makeup and costumes have gotten a lot uptight, out of sight, as my music professor, his Survey of Western Art music professor, has said. It's like the costumes, everything of cats has gotten better and better. They invested millions of dollars to make the 2019 movie of Cats. It's like, you can tell in the music, but it was saved by the women. The women saved it, not the CGI. Otherwise, it would have flopped. And Andrew Lloyd Webber said he needed a service animal after he made that movie. He didn't make the movie, Tom Hooper did, but he was a musical consultant on the movie to make sure that the score had musical integrity. Yeah, so it's like the guy on Fox News says, like, what about that lady Elaine? It's like, I know someone named Elaine in my life. It's like he said, he's that big guy with those chains who's on, who, I don't know if this program is still on Fox News. It's like, but they got together and the host of it was that guy and there was a girl and they talked about cultural things and like, the guy with the chains is like, one of his quotes is, "Enough said." It's like, thank you and God bless. And God bless the United States of America.